What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining us on Tuesday night. It is Tuesday Night Titans, episode 121 for your Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. I'm your host, JD from New York, as always, joined by the one and only, the man who's more ready on any given day, 7 days a week, even more so than Zack Ryder, the Solid Monster. What's going on, brother?
See, I think I could have taken LA Knight on Friday. I think I could have moved on in the last time is now tournament, but I didn't get the chance.
You may actually have a winninger record than LA Knight this year, I would say.
I think I might, although the scary thing is he has more matches, I think, than maybe anybody else in WWE. If he's not number one, he's number two. I think it's between him and Dom. So he's had a lot of matches. He just doesn't have a lot of key wins.
We'll see what happens with LA Knight, man. You know, a lot of people are still saying he belongs in War Games, and it is kind of silly that he's not in War Games against Division, whom he's been battling all year. But I think the LA Knight enthusiasts, bro, I think they're going to be in for a rude awakening when he doesn't win the last time is now tournament.
Yeah, I mean, the way things are shaping up, maybe he'll fall to Gunther in the finals.
You know, I don't want to see that.
I don't necessarily want to see that either, but yeah, they're both in the tournament. They're both moving on. And what I don't want to see is another Gunther Jey Uso match. So I certainly hope that if that option is between those two, I will happily take Gunther and LA Knight. I've seen enough of Gunther and Jey Uso to last me a lifetime.
Yeah, to put it out there, didn't you? Already. We didn't even start the show. You're making terrible decisions here, bro.
Getting right into it.
I'm hoping for Penta and Gunther in the finals.
Yeah, I mean, that would be fine. That would be fine. I was just like sitting here trying to figure out like who's left and everything, and I had to like go through my notes and everything because we don't have like a visual like bracket to know who goes where and what, you know, part of the bracket they're necessarily on. They did give us some insight at least last night, which we'll get into as far as like who Gunther will face. He'll face the winner of this, and Solo will face the winner of this match. It's the most guidance we've gotten in this tournament so far, so we can start to put the pieces together, but I still feel like we don't have all the information that we need.
It's kind of weird they didn't give us brackets, huh?
Yeah, I mean, they called it a tournament, but there was no actual bracket that they ever posted, which was just very weird.
You know what I think they're doing? They're trying to deflect on who wins and who loses. They don't want to give out wins and losses, this company. You know? Like, how can we go about it the most simplest and easiest way for us so we don't frustrate our creative?
Certainly would not be the first time they've done that. Would not surprise me at all.
I don't know, man. We'll get into that. We got a lot to talk about. We got big Monday Night Raw last night from Madison Square Garden. Finally, a Monday Night Raw that kind of exudes Monday night. It felt big. It felt full of life. Madison Square Garden was 17,000, almost 18,000 in that building. And we'll talk about that. We have 5 returns last night, one including Gunther with his old NXT UK theme, which was unbelievable to hear. I actually jumped off my couch. I'm like, look, his theme, his old theme. Thank God. His old theme, I did not like his old theme. Some of the people in my comment section were like, JD, you didn't like his previous theme? I thought it was a banger. I'm like, yeah.
I got used to his most recent theme. There's certain beats in the song that kind of work maybe a little bit better, but I really enjoyed his old music. I didn't think there was a need to change from it to begin with. Yeah. So when I heard it, I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. I didn't hate his old music. Like there are Def Rebel themes that I hate and that are just terrible. His music wasn't terrible. I just think this is the superior of the two themes.
I agree. So we'll talk about the returns. Gunther was one of them. AJ Lee, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, and our guy Dolph Ziggler is back. Nick Nemeth. He had a great showing last night. Almost got a bigger reaction than John Cena last night at Madison Square Garden. So we'll talk about that. He was in the tournament against Solo Sikoa. War Games on the men's side, at least, is complete. We do have a major tease about what the remaining 2 women will be. And if you watched us last week, you kind of know what that is. We'll get into that because AJ Lee was back on Raw last night. And Becky Lynch lost the Intercontinental Championship to Maxine Dupree, which I praised Becky Lynch on my end for a great run. And I did say, and I'm sure we'll get into it, I do not see the IC title around Maxine Dupree's shoulder for very long. So we will definitely talk about that. Cena wrestled last night. He teamed with 2 guys who I think a lot of people wanted to see him actually wrestle one-on-one, but we didn't get that. No time to do that. So the best thing to do is pair them up in a tag team match. So that's what we got with John Cena. Mike Santana, will talk about him losing the TNA championship in a very very bizarre situation there. I don't know why they did it, but I have my theories, and we'll definitely get Jason's take on that. So we'll talk about Santana losing the TNA World Championship after only 32 days and only one title defense, which was against Frankie Kazarian in a losing effort. Full Gear is this weekend. We'll talk preview and predictions. We'll go over Blood and Guts, pros, cons, what we liked, what we didn't like. And then Tony Khan on Ariel Helwani. Redoing it all over again. Part 2, I got all the key news and notes coming out of that interview, which, I know Jason is going to differ in opinion here because I'm very hard on AEW just in general, but just a synopsis of what I thought. I thought it was better than his first interview, number 1, which, you couldn't get any worse. He did seem a little bit more relaxed. Ariel Helwani, got to give him credit. He asked questions that I didn't really expect him to ask. But, man, I tell you, I don't know if you heard the entire thing. I had to watch it in pieces because I just can't sit down and watch this guy speak the way he kind of elaborates himself. Man, it was, to me, he just goes around in circles. He doesn't really answer anything, and then he gives an 8-minute response for something that should take 30 seconds. So I don't know how you thought about the interview, but we'll definitely talk about that as well. Any just kind of quick opinions on what you heard there?
I also had to watch it in pieces because I wasn't able to watch it live, so I didn't see the entire thing from start to finish. I thought it was one of the better interviews he's given. I thought that it was a good, or at least a better kind of give and take back and forth than he had previously with Ariel. It was far superior to the last time they spoke to each other. So for the most part, now he didn't answer every question. We'll get into what was talked about. But I thought he did a better job than, I might have expected when they first announced yesterday that they were going to have him in studio. I said, oh, that kind of came out of nowhere. I said, well, this could be interesting or this could be a disaster. You don't really know what you're going to get here. But I thought overall it was actually good. So, we'll get into what was discussed.
We definitely will. We want to thank you guys for joining us here on Tuesday nights. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up down below. 1,000 likes is the goal right here on YouTube every single Tuesday. Super chats are open, and it is the best way to support what Jason and I do here on Tuesday nights. So please get in on that, and we will hang out at the end of the show. Make sure you guys also go check out Jason on Twitter and YouTube. You know where to find him. Everything is linked down below in the description. And please hit that subscribe button as well for me. We just hit 174,000 subscribers, so I thank you guys very much for that. Going to be a big week. We got a lot going on, and we're going to kick things off tonight. Before I kick it to Jason, I just want to say once again to everybody that I personally met, a few of you guys came up to me at the big event on Saturday. Had a very good time hanging around there for an hour and a half, seeing some of the House of Glory crew there. Shout out to Tantalizing Tony, who came out, and his hospitality was unbelievable. So had a great time talking to him, very insightful, and had a great time, and I'm looking forward to doing it again, man. I think they do it in March, or around WrestleMania season. Right, Jason? We do this 2 times a year with the big event?
Yeah, they'll be back on March 14th.
There you go. So hopefully we can do it all over again. But shout out to Tantalizing Tony and everybody that I met over there. Had a great time. So looking forward to doing it again. All right, man. Guide us. Where are we going? What do you want to talk about?
Well, you mentioned the TNA stuff. Well, why don't we start there in the whole Mike Santana situation, the now former TNA World Heavyweight Champion. We were so excited when he finally had his big moment. It wasn't even a month ago, and he wins the championship after we thought it was going to happen in July. They pushed it off until October. Well, here we are in November, and Mike Santana is no longer the TNA World Heavyweight Champion.
No, he lost the championship in his first defense of the championship after 32 days against Frankie Kazarian, which Kazarian, if you guys remember, won the Call Your Shot Battle Royal, and he was a co-winner with Nick Nemeth. They had to share the trophy, which in itself was foolish. It's just kind of weird that they went about doing it like that. But he cashed in at least his side of the trophy, and he beat Mike Santana after the NXT talents that invaded Full Sail University cost Mike Santana this match. Now, the setup here was he was attacked before the match actually started, before he reached the ringside area. And then we saw Robert Stone from NXT leading an NXT invasion with a number of developmental stars. So Santana tried to. What happened?
You know what this you know what this is the equivalent of? For all the people that like remember the invasion many years ago and all of the big names that were missing in the invasion?
Yeah.
Like a real invasion, like a real great invasion angle back then. You would have had Hogan, you would have had Flair, you would have had Goldberg, you would have had Sting, you would have had names like that. And what we got, we basically got the WCW B team for the most part, right? You have Booker and DDP, but beyond that, you had, a lot of the B team guys. And that's what this was. Like, I'm seeing Lexus King and I'm seeing, a whole bunch of people. I'm like, this is.
I got the names here. Lexus King, Charlie Dempsey, High Rise, Stax, and Brooks Jensen.
Oh, my goodness. What is Mike Santana to do? And Brooks Jensen is out there attacking him in the middle of the ring. Yeah. So the setup, as JD was saying, he was attacked. They went after his arm. I think they put the arm in a chair, right? And they stomped on it. And then Kazarian came out to cash in. And they had like a very brief match. And Santana went for his spin the block, lariat. And the best way I could describe this is it looked like he had a cramp. And all of a sudden he stopped in mid-move and he clutched the arm. And then Kazarian rolls him up like with like a deep stack. And he pins him. And he wins the championship. So it isn't just that he lost the championship. It's the way in which he lost the championship, which was like the worst possible way he could have lost the championship and the most anticlimactic way. And I'm like, when I first saw people talking about this on social media, I didn't know if it was legit or not. I said, well, surely this could not have gone down in the way that's being described. But nope, it went down exactly the way that it was described. And so now my mind begins to wander, and my mind begins to wonder, okay, is he on his way out? Did
That's
WWE? Yeah, I mean, that's the natural reaction. Did WWE scoop him up? Is he leaving? Because that's the only rational explanation for it. And it doesn't sound like that's the case. Not to say they won't at some point, but his contract supposedly is with TNA is at least through the end of the year. And then the next day they shoot this angle because they had their Turning Point pay-per-view. And I see PW Insider and like reputable websites are reporting that Mike Santana hasn't reported the call time at the arena. He hasn't, shown up yet. And they're trying to reach him by text and phone call, and he's not returning their messages. And I hate to say this, but like when I read stuff like that, as like a longtime wrestling fan who can remember back in the day when I would log on and I would see stories like that, like it reminded me of when. Like they would check in and find someone dead in their hotel room. Like I hate that my mind would even like go there. But like as a wrestling fan, I'm like, what's going on here? And they're reporting on it as though it's legit. And then by later in the day, it becomes pretty clear that it's all. And I think Sean Ross Sapp just came right out and said, I don't know any other way to say this. It's a work. And it's very unusual for people in the company to kind of feed information like this. Oh, this person's not, responding to messages and getting back to us, and just feed us phony information because they're trying to work an angle. And it just reflected so badly on TNA, like a classic LOL TNA moment where they thought they were creating probably some kind of buzz around this. And I have no doubt Santana will probably end up with a championship again. But that's not the point. The point is this whole thing was just stupid. And I don't see how this benefited TNA. I don't see how this benefits Mike Santana, even Frankie Kazarian. Frankie Kazarian has a history in this company that goes back like 2 decades and finally wins the world championship in the most like lackluster way possible. Like, who did this benefit?
This benefited nobody. Now, right. you mentioned that you feel like Santana is eventually going to get back to the world championship. My question to you is, what difference does it make if he wins the championship or not? Isn't this the same angle that they ran when they were doing the NXT showdown between TNA and NXT, and Trick Williams was the NXT or the TNA rather world champion? I mean, you had an NXT talent holding their biggest prize in the company, and it was being held hostage for Santana to get it back and kind of reclaim TNA and be the face of TNA. Now you're running the same angle again, but with Frankie Kazarian and not Trick Williams, due to the help of NXT fucking bench warmers.
C team, yes,
like,
the C team.
Like, I mean, who gives a shit if he wins the championship or not? It was a great moment, At Bound for Glory, he was there with his daughter, who means the world to him. And it was just a long time coming to see where he was when he was injured, to fight his way back to the World Championship and get in the best shape of his career. And they even teased Kazarian cashing in that moment, and they kind of fucked that moment
up. Which was stupid.
At Bound for Glory, it was fucking stupid, yes.
It was very, very, like, awkward and out of place, and they had Elijah, who's not even cleared, I think, to wrestle yet. He shows up with his guitar. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Like,
Elias.
That was completely unnecessary. So, like, at every turn here, since you won the championship, it's just, even that night, I'm scratching my head. But here's what makes it even worse. Like, TNA basically took a month off. And so now, they're back now. And the only other time that Mike Santana appeared, I believe, or wrestled on television, he didn't even come out with the championship because it was in a match that was taped before he won the title. So then you get to this night and they shoot this angle and already he doesn't have the championship.
So he made 0 TV appearances as the TNA World Champion.
I believe so. Correct. Yes.
Wow. That is... I don't know what that says about TNA, but clearly,
nothing good.
No, nothing good, and it doesn't really kind of make Santana look good at all. Now, it didn't really pass the smell test to me because that's not really who Mike Santana is. I don't think Mike Santana would blatantly ignore texts or phone calls or not make the call time at 1 p.m. Says PW Insider here was the scheduled call time. So when I read that, I'm like, that's got to be a work because that's not Mike Santana. But we don't really understand why they tried to spin it into a work after losing the World Championship, which is the only thing that people are going to be fixated on because it's a fucking stupid creative decision. Now, I also looked at that and said, why would Mike Santana risk a partnership and a relationship with his current employer, who right now is in a relationship with hopefully his future employer? Like, why would he make himself look bad in front of TNA when eventually his end goal, I'm assuming, is to get the WWE? So why would he do that? And why would he behave like that? It's so fucking stupid.
Even from like a storyline perspective, right? I was saying, like, why would he be upset with TNA management? Like, he got cashed in on by Frankie Kazarian with this dumb trophy. Like, why would he be so upset with TNA management? And then I saw, I guess, at the tapings or whatever, they had Carlos Silva, who's the president of TNA, came out to confront Frankie Kazarian. So now Carlos Silva's part of this storyline saying we're launching an investigation into what happened here. And I'm like, okay, this is their storyline they're going with, but I still fail to see how this is supposed to generate interest in the television show or who this is supposed to appeal to. All they did was they probably reached out to a bunch of, and in some cases, legitimate reporters who report on their company and on wrestling news. And they just tried to, work them with this angle and probably burn some of those people to their own detriment. So I fail to see how this benefits them at all. And on top of that, the way they took the title from him is just dumb. It's just stupid. And even if he gets it back, you only get one first championship and one first championship run. And he didn't have much of one. So yeah, this was just a fail on TNA's part.
Now, Frankie Kazarian holds the TNA championship. I was very confused as to why they took the belt off of Mike Santana because they made a big deal about him being the face of the new era going into their new TV deal, which right now, according to Sports Illustrated, and John Alba reported this, apparently it may land with AMC, the home of The Walking Dead. Which
there's a joke in there somewhere.
Yes, I know. You're probably more apt to make that than I am, but the TNA has outlived several situations.
TNA has had about as many seasons as the original Walking Dead had. Right? That show had, 10 or 11 seasons?
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody expected TNA to make it 10 or 11 seasons, but here they are. So there's some similarities there. It surprised me because everyone was talking about one of the networks that WWE has a relationship with. So the CW, or what was the other one?
A&E.
Oh, A&E.
Yeah.
And so AMC kind of came out of nowhere. It would be an upgrade from Access Television. A lot of these networks would be an upgrade from Access Television. I think it would be hard for them to leave Access and go somewhere else and it not to be an upgrade from where they are right now. So my early kind of thoughts on this, if this pans out and they do end up on AMC, first of all, I have access to AMC, whereas right now I don't have access to Access TV. So that's a thumbs up.
Well, you may also have access to WWE on ESPN because YouTube has worked out a deal with Disney.
Well, they have, yes. We had the ESPN and Disney networks taken away from us for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so they just reinstated them, and they say, oh, you'll also have access to ESPN's direct-to-consumer service. But they said they can't say exactly when, but it probably won't be until well into next year. So
I'm assuming that'll get figured out by the Royal Rumble.
Well, you would hope so, but they didn't give any sort of date. Supposedly we will have access to it, but it's one of these to be determined type things. But AMC, look, if they end up on AMC, it's a big upgrade for them. I don't know what the current numbers are as far as how many homes AMC is in it.
I have it right in front of me. Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics estimated that in 2023, there was a little more over 30 million homes for Access TV. Last year, industry estimates for AMC approximately double that. So there you go.
Yeah. So, and again, cable, they're shedding homes every year. So, more and more people are cutting the cord, but that's still a lot of homes that they're available. And doesn't mean that all of those homes obviously are going to be tuned into TNA, but it gives people access now to the product that they would not have otherwise had. If they sample the product, if they like what they see, they could potentially grow their fan base, which is really what the whole point of this is. So, if this works out, then it's a plus for TNA. We still don't have any clarity on what night of the week the show would air, if it's going to stay on Thursdays, if it's going to move to another night. But we're going to have to get some kind of announcement soon, because when Carlos Silva was talking about this and making the rounds a few months ago, he said that this would be something that would kick off at the beginning of 2026. So we shouldn't have to wait too much longer to find out where they're going to land.
Yeah, you would think so. It would happen between now and the end of the year. But with A&E and CW, obviously those rumors are still out there. This is all speculation with AMC. I tied this into Kazarian, Jason, winning the world championship, and I tried to come up with a theory as to why. Now, obviously Santana could get the championship back, but like you said, and I perfectly, just kind of in tune with that, you only get one of those opportunities, and the second time is not going to be as special as the first time. So to me, it's just null and void. Frankie Kazarian, you mentioned he's got a 20-year history with TNA, and with him being the world champion now and this new TV deal looming, I posed the question to you because this is what I came up with. Do you see a possibility? Now, I predict, this is just me, I predict that TNA will land on Wednesdays, and I think they will eventually go head-to-head with Dynamite. I just think that is something WWE would like them to do. I do feel WWE is kind of going to be hanging around those TV negotiations, and I do feel like they would rather TNA go to battle against AEW than WWE do it head-on, because it would be way too blatant. So they send the amateurs to go do their dirty work.
Well, but, I mean, what does AMC air on Wednesdays right now?
I have no idea. I don't watch AMC in general outside of a Walking Dead reboot.
So that's a question that should be asked, because if they have a first run show that is one of their premier shows, I don't think they would want to move that show. But if they don't really have anything of note in that spot, then they could absolutely slide that over to Wednesdays.
Yeah, so I feel like that is a huge possibility. And with Frankie Kazarian, this new TV deal, you would think that they want to set things off the right way and debut with a bang. And I pose this to you. Do you see AJ Styles, who is speculating that he will retire next year, and we don't know when or where he will retire? I know WrestleMania has been discussed for AJ Styles and him calling it a day. Do you see AJ wrestling Frankie Kazarian potentially for the TNA Championship on that debut episode, and him winning that world championship in his final year as a professional wrestler? Is that what they did and why they took the title off Mike Santana, or is that just a complete out there conspiracy theory?
No, I think that's probably giving them too much credit. I think that would be a great idea. I tend to believe AJ, he talked about this just a few days ago, where he said he doesn't really think it's going to happen. So I don't think that there is some secret plan for him to wrestle a match like on that first TNA show, whatever network they land on. But they should absolutely want that, and I think they should inquire about that and try to work something out with WWE. Now, with the Joe Hendry stuff, he's now under contract to WWE, but was supposedly still under a TNA deal until the end of the year. So my whole thing was, if they were able to work something out legally where they were able to get him early, like if I'm TNA, I want something in return. It's like, okay, if you want him early, and I think he's wrestling tonight, maybe in the ring right now. He's wrestling tonight for the AAA Mixed Tag Team titles on NXT. So they have him, but we should get something in return. And if I'm TNA, I'm asking a very simple request. You don't have to nail down the date and time right now, but like, we would like a commitment to be able to bring AJ Styles in to wrestle one more match for TNA. I personally don't think that that's asking much. So I don't know if that's something they have asked for or inquired about. If, let's say, they're going to debut on a new network sometime in January, let's just say, you want to make a really big splash on that first show, there's two things you could do. Number one, you could have AJ Styles just have a match on that show. It could be against anybody. It could be against Leon Slater, right? Since they had a little interaction at Bound for Glory. And then separately do a match where Santana wins the belt back. Or you could have AJ Styles against Kazarian because they have history together. I think Styles in the match with John Cena even used a Kazarian move, I believe.
Yes.
And then Kazarian came back and did the same thing in his next match. Have AJ win the championship one last time and have AJ Styles drop it to Mike Santana. But I don't know if WWE, if they would allow that, because now you're talking about two matches instead of one. That's why I say I think that's a little pie in the sky. If it was going to be him wrestling for the championship, because he would have to lose it, now you're committing him to more than one match. But they should be thinking along those lines, and I'm sure they are trying to figure out, okay, what can we do to really get people talking on that first show and get eyeballs on the show? Absolutely, I would try to do something like that. You got to build that thing up as big as you possibly can. It's like when TNA went to, was it their first night? God, it was 2010 when they brought in Hogan. They brought in Hogan and Flair. It was a 3-hour show. I remember that night because that was the night Bret Hart came back on Raw. So we had a little war going on that night. And so it might have been the night that they moved to Mondays. That's what it was. And they threw everything that they could at that show. And I think at the peak of Impact that night, they had 2.5 million viewers. They've never touched those numbers since then. And they never will, quite possibly, especially today where cable is like dying. But you got to blow it up because you want to maximize the audience. So I would hope they're thinking along those lines. I don't think it's a conspiracy to say that, hey, maybe they could do this. But if they do what you just said, AJ wins the title, let's say, what do you do then? He's got to defend it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get that far, but that first part is what I really talked about on the video I made this week, because I didn't really understand why they would take the belt of somebody that they put so much work into building up as the face of the company, and then they take it off of him 32 days later. There's got to be a reason. There's got to be a method to the madness, because giving it right back to him just, what does it do? It's going to fall flat on its face. It's not going to go over big for Mike Santana or TNA. I mean, it's got to lead to something bigger. You're doing an invasion. Frankie Kazarian's got the championship. Is he working with NXT? And then maybe how you get Styles incorporated into that, I don't know. He's got to make some NXT appearances. Maybe he's got to show up on TNA television. I don't know, but that's the first thing I thought of.
It may just be a case where they want to do a big title change on that first show. And so it's like, let's get the belt off Santana so he could struggle a little bit more. And then when we have that first show, Santana in front of what hopefully is a bigger audience can triumphantly win the belt back, and it has nothing to do with AJ Styles.
Yeah.
That's the other possibility. It doesn't change the fact that the way they shot this and this whole angle and the way they did it, it was not good.
No.
It was not good.
No, it was not good at all. I mean, that wasn't the only thing that TNA kind of embarrassed themselves with during this recent stint at Full Sail University, which looked great. I love Full Sail as a venue for pro wrestling. But there was a social media influencer that was in the crowd. I don't know if you guys heard this. I did talk about this as well on my video that I uploaded this week. Jacob Cohen is an influencer who's been, I want to say, doing this for a little bit. And he goes to the shows and he posts spoilers or still pictures of the TNA tapings on social media. It's very innocent. In the day and age of social media, nobody should find it to be surprising that spoilers are out there. If you don't want to go search for them, then just don't go search for them. It's not that big of a deal. When you start filming stuff and then you start putting TV tapings that aren't going to air for 2 or 3 weeks after that particular taping and post those videos to social media for monetary gain, that's where I have a problem with it, and that's where anybody should have a problem with it. But apparently TNA thought he was doing exactly that, and they kicked him out of Full Sail University, and then he goes to social media and explained to everybody, and I quote, "Just to let everyone know, I've been asked by TNA management to leave the show tonight. There was a belief that I was filming the show. I showed them I was not. They returned and asked me to leave anyway. Wasn't allowed to talk to anyone further. That's all from me tonight." Now, his tweet went on to get 1.1 million views plus. It did go viral. And Tony Khan was quick to say, "Well, you're welcome to the Ring of Honor and AEW tapings. We'd never do anything like that to you." But since this tweet, they did work it out with Mr. Jake McCowan, and they kind of fixed what the issue was here, and I guess all is well there. But they booted this guy out, and it was also something that just kind of gave them a black eye over this entire Full Sail taping schedule, mixed with the Santana World Championship situation. Did you hear about this story, Jason? Is it a big deal that he's posting spoilers online and everybody getting upset that he is? I mean, it seems innocent enough in this day and age of social media. As long as he wasn't taking video, I personally don't see what the issue was there.
Yeah, I mean, Jacob's been doing this for a while, and I think it's just TNA shows he goes to, but he would post like still shots, probably take with his phone.
Yeah.
He wasn't posting video or anything like that, and a lot of it, I think, was more just sort of spoilers for some matches that are coming up, and not necessarily spoiling like everything on the show, but it was never an issue previously. He's been going to the shows and doing what he does for years. If he's claiming that they accused him of filming and he's like, "Hey, take a look at this, I'm not filming anything," and they still kicked him out, and then he followed up and said, "Oh yeah, by the way, they didn't give me a refund either," then that's a bad look for TNA, but good on them for correcting the situation. Apparently they went above and beyond. He said he wasn't going to give all the details of what they were doing for him, but they resolved it, and that's exactly what they should have done, because it was a very bad PR look for them.
Power of social media, man. 1 million views, and they're quick to fix the mistake there. So good on them. Chris Jericho, he has a little to say about TNA here. He actually buried AEW's presentation discussing recent TNA success here. I don't know if you guys heard this story. Now, Chris Jericho's in the news because a lot of people expect to find him in the Royal Rumble or end up in WWE come the turn of the new year. But Chris Jericho mentioned the TNA pay-per-view, which we just had, Bound for Glory, which sold over 6,000 tickets, had 6,000 fans in attendance. Jericho claimed that the place in Lowell, Massachusetts looked like it had a WWE-level crowd and suggested that it put AEW's recent shows to shame. He says the crowd looked huge. It was like a WWE-level crowd. The place was packed. I was watching this and not saying anything out of school here, but comparing it to watching Dynamite when they were at the ECW arena, which looked like a Tony Condello taping. Sorry, it did. TNA looked like the second biggest company in the world, and that was amazing, and the presentation was amazing. So he was very quick to boast TNA success while dumbing down how awful AEW looked at the ECW arena. And all I saw when he said this was, "I'll see you in the Royal Rumble, Tony, in 2026. Thanks for coming." Basically what he said there in also many words.
Yeah, I mean, he's been off television since April. So the only reason he would be off television for this long is if he was kind of riding things out and he was getting ready to move elsewhere. Like, he's been out since April. I don't see him just suddenly reappearing on AEW television. There was no reason for him to. I don't believe for a second that when he took off, in the spring, the idea was he was going to be gone for this long. There was a Fozzy tour. That tour ended, and he just never came back. So I'm sure he's biding his time. Even if you really parse Tony Khan's comments about it, I think if you read between the lines, you could tell he probably knows where this is headed. And whether it's the Rumble or some other time, I do think that we'll see him back on TV in WWE sometime before WrestleMania. I mean, I see him, probably him and LA Knight, honestly, having a program heading into Mania next year.
I think that's the direction. Yeah.
I make a prediction. That would be my prediction.
Yeah. That's sounds like a sound one. So we'll keep an eye on Jericho. I do believe he will be in the Royal Rumble. Should be exciting to see. He's got himself in great shape. So look forward to that come January. That was the TNA stuff. We'll shift gears to WWE. We'll start with SmackDown. And I missed SmackDown live on Friday. Jason was carrying the load on Friday, covering SmackDown. I was at the Miles Kennedy and Wolfgang Van Halen concert. Excellent, by the way. Eddie Van Halen's son is uber talented. So if you guys have a chance to check out his music and go see him, I highly recommend it for sure. But SmackDown was a pretty decent show. It wasn't great by any stretch of the imagination, Jason. It was good. It was certainly better than the week prior. People were telling me, "Oh man, you missed a great SmackDown," and I watched it after I got home from the concert, and I'm like,
"Yeah, the bar is low."
It was all right. It was good to see Cardona on television again, but it was okay.
Who?
Yes, Zack Ryder. Sorry. Yes. No, Matt Cardona does not live in the WWE.
I'm a WWE fan. I don't know who this Cardona is that you speak of. Who is that?
Yes, we'll get into that, but he did make a return. Zack Ryder did. We got a couple of War Games situations playing out on SmackDown. We'll start with that. Charlotte and Rhea Ripley got into a little back and forth, and to create some dialogue and some semblance of story, Charlotte came out with her War Games team, Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Alexa Bliss. Right now, it is only 4. We got a major tease last night on the 5th on who that could be. But Charlotte came out and looked at Rhea Ripley and looked at Alexa Bliss, Jason, and said, "I don't trust Rhea Ripley. I don't like Rhea Ripley." And she removed herself from the situation after telling Alexa Bliss, "Lexi, I can't do this anymore." She just walked off and walked away from her teammates. And we didn't really see her again for the rest of the show, only to come out on Monday, and she was right there with a kendo stick. So we know which weapon of choice she will have in the War Games match.
Get ready for the kendo games coming up in San Diego.
Which weapon is each woman going to come out with, man? Find out next. So she was already letting the tensions kind of die down there to help her teammates. But I thought they tried to create some dialogue and some story with the weeks remaining of television that we have, but they seemingly killed that off on Monday. So it's like, what's the fucking point now?
They just rushed right through it. So, okay. That was a lot quicker than I thought it would be based on what we saw on Friday, but there you go. It's pretty much, they didn't announce it officially, but it was pretty clear from what we saw that she's back in the good graces of her fellow teammates.
I'm sure we'll get some dialogue on why she came out and helped Alexa Bliss and her teammates, and what was the decision after Lexi said, "Well, you're not answering my texts and you're not answering my phone calls, but I see you on Instagram parading around New York City." So she came out there with her kendo stick and she saved the day last night on Raw. That was one of the War Game situations on Friday. Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder, he made his WWE return as a participant in the Last Time Is Now tournament. It was great to see him. He went one-on-one with LA Knight. They went about 10 minutes. Very basic WWE television match. I thought they worked very well together. Crowd was happy to see him.
It's sad that I was fairly certain that LA Knight was going to win, but I still wasn't 100% sure. And it's kind of sad that I have to look at this and go, I think Triple H, he might do him dirty here by having him lose to a guy who isn't even under contract in WWE. But thankfully, that did not happen, because how ridiculous would that have been for LA Knight to lose in that situation? Especially knowing what we know now, which is that Cardona was meant to be a one-shot. So he's not back under contract with his, I guess, a temporary merchandise contract. But this is something that, he's been vocal about. Like, this is something that he has wanted for a very long time. He always talks about always ready. That's like one of his catchphrases. Yeah. Right? I'm always ready. You give me the call, I'll be there. I'm always ready. And he has been waiting for that phone call. So he got it. He showed up. I thought it was, the match was fine. He was obviously very happy and very excited to be there. He has said in the past that he would like to leave Zack Ryder dead and buried and be Matt Cardona if he ever went back. But that wasn't going to stop him from saying yes, obviously, if they said, "Hey, we want you to be Zack Ryder again." So good for him. I more than anything, I just felt I was happy for him, because I know how much he's been, dying to get that opportunity. And then there was a little interaction backstage that they had on social media where LA Knight came up to him and said, "I don't know if this is, hello or goodbye, but basically just almost like a nod of respect. And somebody made a comment. They said, man, they got to make these two a tag team and call them Knight Rider.
I like that.
Get over.
I like that.
You know what? I tell you what. There are people that would be upset because it would be a downgrade in their view for LA Knight. They think he should be world heavyweight champion right now, and you're going to put him in a tag team with Zack Ryder. There is the potential, I think, for that to be a very humorous thing where, maybe LA Knight doesn't really want to be tag team partners with anybody, but somehow they get put together. And I could see that getting over, like as a super like babyface over act. I could see that working.
I think that would be, listen, SmackDown could use all the ideas and all the help that they could get, because right now there's zero on that show that is enticing the viewer. I was happy to see him back. He looked great. I know he did say that the next time he'd like to be back is not under the Zack Ryder persona, but that is a WWE IP. Is it a reason, Jason, why he's not Matt? Because it's kind of, I mean, looking at it just head on, it is kind of silly that we saw him on NXT Wrestling Josh Briggs as Matt Cardona, and then now he's on SmackDown Wrestling as Zack Ryder. Is it something where he does not want to sign over the rights to his name to WWE? Or is it something that has anything to do with that? And Zack Ryder is the easiest thing to do because it is who the audience knows him as, even though he's worked his ass off for the last 5 years on the indies. And all the merchandise and the likeness and the logos with his spiked hair and the Long Island gimmick, it makes for good merchandise. Is it a reason why he didn't come back as Matt Cardona, because he didn't want to sell the rights to his name to WWE?
I don't know. I don't think so. It just felt to me like a WWE decision. Like the history he has with John Cena was as Zack Ryder. So they wanted him back as Zack Ryder. Yeah. And then instantly they had Zack Ryder merch on WWE Shop. And I'm assuming it wasn't new merch. It might have been recycled old merch. So maybe they had stuff, that they wanted to try to get rid of. And they're like, we can sell it again.
Hotcakes too.
Yeah. So maybe they'll make new merch. But so I'm sure if they went to him and said, hey, we'll let you be Matt Cardona, but you've got to, there's some legal stuff that has to be taken care of here. Unless it would have prevented him from continuing to do what he does on the independent scene. It felt like a WWE decision, because I'm sure Cardona would have been down for that.
I don't know what comes with getting him into the WWE system again, but I did say when I briefly covered SmackDown this past weekend, I don't know what's taking so long for WWE to bring Zack Ryder back into the fold. His wife is obviously works there. She's the United States champion. She just beat Julia a couple weeks ago. She's very popular, and they are very high on her. I just find it very weird that a phone call hasn't been made to Cardona to come back. Again, like I said, I don't know what that entails, because he comes with a lot of extra now. This is not the same Zack Ryder we saw 5, 6, 7 years ago in WWE. He's got his own podcast, which is very popular. He is doing his own thing. He's got several different projects outside WWE. How do you maintain that if you're going to go back to WWE? And is WWE going to honor those things that he has built for himself? Because we all know, and they'll never blatantly admit it, but the more you get yourself over and the more that you do outside of WWE to make your name popular, they kind of look down on that. Killer Cross is a great example of that, and they didn't really go anywhere with that. But I said, what's taking so long, Jason? Because you look at the ecosystem on SmackDown, and you sign him and put him on Friday night, bro, he would instantly become one of the top names on that show. And it's not going to be like a Carlito situation. We all had this high hope that Carlito would come back and he would kind of fit back into that United States Championship title picture and kind of relive his former glory, but he was nothing more than a background player in the Judgment Day, and he really didn't amount to anything. If they put Zack Ryder on SmackDown, bro, it would alleviate some of the problems and give that show a major name, where right now they don't really have anybody outside of Cody Rhodes and a couple of other names that are out right now. So I think he would fit there like a glove.
But, I mean, what makes you think that if they signed him and put him on SmackDown that he would instantly be one of the biggest names on SmackDown? I don't see that at all.
No?
I don't think they look at him that way. I mean, you and I know, like...
Well, they should.
I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying there's no way that they look at him in that way. That's why the phone call hasn't come. And we could sit here and go, why? And it should have come. It's ridiculous. I'm just telling you, like, the reason that, this situation here where he did the one-off and we don't know if he's going to be back or not. Like, if they wanted him, he's been available. He's made it very clear publicly he would love to go back. So the fact that that phone call hasn't come back to the company and sign a full-time deal, to me, speaks volumes about where they see him, or Triple H, where they see him. I don't get that impression at all that if they brought him back, he would instantly be one of the top guys or near the top on SmackDown because, well, they have some depth issues right now. I think they would bring him in, and honestly, ultimately, he would end up right back in the same place he was in before because they don't see it. They don't see that vision. They don't see him at that same level. I mean, you could disagree with it. I'm just saying this is how WWE thinks, because if I'm wrong and they don't think that way, he would have been back by now.
True. I just look at it
I don't
as,
know what makes you think that if they suddenly signed him, all of a sudden, oh man, because they have all these holes on SmackDown, surely, the cream will rise to the top. I mean, look at LA Knight. We're having this conversation about LA Knight, and the guy's charismatic and he's super over. He has all these fans, just like Zack Ryder. Cardona's got this big social media following. If WWE, if Triple H, if they don't see you at that level, it doesn't matter if you have 10 million followers on social media. Like, it doesn't matter. If they don't see you there, you're not going to get there, or it's going to be an uphill battle to get there. And he should know, because he went through this 15 years ago. He got over in spite of them not wanting to push him. They reluctantly pushed him. He won the U.S. title. That didn't last very long. He won the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania in Dallas. He lost it the very next night. No matter what he did, no matter how over he got, it didn't matter because they never saw him at that level. And we could say the same thing about the other guy we're going to be talking about here in a few minutes, in Nick Nemeth.
I guess I'm looking at it in a foolish way. I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying. That is very much how WWE operates. But the only other name that went to the Indies from a major promotion, and granted he wasn't anywhere where he is now or like he is now, is Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes set the foundation that Matt Cardona followed. And you would think that with Matt Cardona following that Cody Rhodes route on the Indies to make yourself a bigger name and get in better shape and just kind of put yourself out there and be present everywhere and make a boatload of money. He's basically the one that followed in Cody's footsteps after Cody paved the way. And he ended up much better off for it. Is he at Cody Rhodes' level? No. But Cody was a nobody when he left WWE. He became a somebody on the Indies. He went to AEW and started AEW. He didn't really achieve the heights that we all wanted him to in AEW. And whatever happened there, he walked, went back to WWE, and was main eventing WrestleMania within the first 2 years. So do I look at Cardona that way? No, but I think if WWE is a smart business company, they would give the guy the opportunity to fucking show us what he's got after they didn't really look at him as anything more than a mid-card guy all those years ago. Look at what he's done now. Give him the opportunity to do that. What could be so bad on Friday night that you don't allow that guy to do what he's got to do? That's the way I'm looking at it. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but that's the way WWE operates, the way that you laid out. I just hate to see it because we both know Matt Cardona is so much better than that, and it's unfair.
Yeah, he's very entertaining. He the stuff he does as the indie god and the deathmatch king and all that. Obviously, he can't do the deathmatch stuff, but he has gone out there and shown that he knows how to get heat. And he's a very entertaining personality. He's great when it comes to promoting stuff on social media. He was ahead of the curve when it came to that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve the opportunity, or that if you gave him that opportunity that he would not be able to elevate himself higher than he was previously, because I believe he can. But I just don't think it's a situation where WWE is tripping over themselves to sign him because they don't see him at that level. And if they did, he'd have a contract by now. And he should have a contract. But the fact that he doesn't should tell you that if that day ever comes, I greatly question how much higher up in the pecking order he will be. Even though SmackDown could use him, how much higher up in the pecking order would he be as compared to where he was when he left the company? Probably not that much higher.
I will say, I just looked up how old he is. I didn't realize because he doesn't look it. He's 40 years old. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so that's also like maybe has something to do with it. Yeah.
LA Knight, I think, is 42 or 43.
Yep.
Well, look, I mean, you could say that might have something to do with it, but I've pointed out, WWE, if you look at their main event scene, it is mostly comprised of people that are older than that.
Yes.
So all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, this guy's 40. We can't do anything with him. It's like, dude, your whole fucking company is based around people that are 40 and above. Like, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Like that's not a valid excuse.
So, yeah, that was Matt Cardona, LA Knight. Cardona lost. LA Knight advances in the John Cena tournament. Ilya Dragunov, he defended again his United States Championship against Axiom. Very good match. Slow to start, but they really picked up the pace towards the end, and they're clearly building towards him and Tommaso Ciampa in a very kind of, what's the right word to use here, Jason? I won't say bizarre, but they're trying to make something out of nothing, and they're trying to give you at least some semblance of story there with the United States Championship, where right now it's just match after match after match, and they're trying to create a narrative that Ciampa wants an opportunity, and Dragunov won't give it to him.
Yeah, I mean, they're building to a match between Dragunov and Ciampa. And they've teased the match between Dragunov and Tama Tonga as well, who doesn't speak. So, like, he grunts. And so at least Ciampa actually speaks actual human words. So they're trying to create a story around this, which is fine. It's a perfectly fine mid-card story on the show. But the U.S. Open Challenge continues to be the one thing that's worth tuning in for on the show every single week. And probably this week was maybe the weakest of the bunch so far, but it was still good. So it continues to outshine everything else they do on SmackDown, which is one of the reasons SmackDown is in the rut that it's in, because it's the same one segment that a lot of us find ourselves looking forward to every week. I'll tell you what else hurts SmackDown. Like when we get into Raw, we talk about all of the things that happened on Raw last night. You talk about blowing your load in one night. Like, look at everything they did at the Garden last night. And I said this on my review. I said, SmackDown now has scraps left for Friday because they gave you everything on Monday, and now you're going to go into SmackDown on Friday, and no matter what they do, everything's going to just feel underwhelming, which only adds to this feeling that SmackDown is just far inferior to what we get on Monday night.
Man, so, we got AJ Lee, we got Gunther, we got Lesnar, Reigns, Punk, Cody,
well,
right? And then we got MFTs on Friday.
Well, the funny thing is, like, and somebody mentioned this, and I just laughed, during my review last night. I was like, if you look at what we had last night, we had John Cena, we had Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Nikki Bella was on the show, AJ Lee. It's like, man, this 2013 episode of Raw is lit. I'm like,
yes.
You know what? It's kind of true. It's kind of true.
Mr. Moment Maker himself there, Paul Levesque. He can't write a good story, but he could give you a moment. But there you go.
He can throw us in the time machine and take us back to 2013 where we saw all of these same exact names on Monday Night Raw. Yes.
So, yeah, that was Dragunov in the United States Open Challenge. I'm kind of disappointed Dragunov wasn't in the John Cena tournament and why we are not afforded a Gunther versus Dragunov final at Survivor Series, but instead we got Nikki Bella versus Stephanie Vaquer. Thanks, Triple H. I'm going to start calling him Paul Sesame Street Levesque. How about that? Safe.
Well, what I was disappointed in more than anything, now that we know who all the people in the tournament are, right? There's no more matches left that we're not already aware of. We had one NXT guy in the entire tournament.
One NXT guy and two TNA guys.
And two TNA guys. And the other surprise is that none of those TNA guys, although I guess now he's not a TNA guy, was Joe Hendry.
No.
That was surprising also. But, when they had Cena talk about it's going to be cross-branded, you'll have talent from Raw and talent from SmackDown, NXT. And I was like, okay, Javon Evans has to be one of them. But, like, maybe Oba will be in there. Maybe Ricky will be in there. Like, there were different options for, like, a couple of NXT talents you could have had in there, and they just went with one. I just was underwhelmed by what they've done for the most part so far with this tournament. That's just how I have felt about it, seeing not that there isn't talent in there, Penta's in there, Sheamus. I mean, that's cool, but they could have done so much more with it. And
yeah, they didn't have any fun.
Yeah.
We'll get into it. It's
also weird, by the way, that there's a lot of SmackDown matches with SmackDown talents are happening on Raw, and a lot of Raw talents and Raw matches are happening on SmackDown.
Well, I think that's done by design because the Raw talents just they need the Raw talent on SmackDown to give it a different feel.
Yeah.
But I'll get into, and Jason will get into the Gunther and Javon Evans match. I got a lot to say about that. Not that I didn't enjoy it. I very much did. It's just, WWE just doesn't know how to have any fun, but we'll get into that. But that was the United States Open Challenge with Dragunov and Axiom. building towards Dragunov and Tommaso Ciampa. And then the big thing that happened at the end of the show, Drew McIntyre was brought out of suspension by Paul Heyman, and he has now aligned himself with the Vision, which I think is a great move. And again, if you guys have watched us here on Tuesday nights and even individually, this is not a surprise. This has been talked about for weeks on both of our ends, and McIntyre fits perfectly into what the Vision is planning. Even when Rollins was there, and Rollins was the leader of the Vision, if he did not get hurt, I personally saw McIntyre fitting into that War Games match anyway through that same situation. But I feel like with him now, Jason, fitting into this match and Paul Heyman bringing him out of suspension, it definitely makes a lot more sense as to why Cody Rhodes is there, and it actually makes Cody's inclusion in this match sensible, which I don't mind. And I think he just looks great standing behind Heyman and next to Logan Paul, who he's had history with. He tagged with Logan Paul at SummerSlam against Jelly Roll and Randy Orton, and then obviously got Breakker and Bronson Reed. That side now, I don't want to jump ahead, but adding Lesnar, man, and then you see the baby faces, that's one hell of a fucking 10-man War Games match. I mean, it's just ridiculous the amount of star power and the amount of talent that's in that one match alone.
Well, you had to have Drew in there if Cody was going to be in there.
Yeah.
So once they added Cody, it was like, it's got to be Drew on the other side because they need guys, and it just makes sense. Plus, Drew has history also with Punk. So one of the good things about, when you look now, I may as well talk about, the match now, but when we look at the field in that men's War Games match, pretty much most of the guys in the match have history with each other, which is good.
Yes.
At least they all have interacted with each other or feuded in some way, shape, or form. Again, Drew with Cody and Punk, and then you've got Brock, who's worked with Cody and Roman and Punk, and so on. So on the babyface side alone, it's like an all-star team when you think about Roman, Punk, and Cody, and then you have the Usos. But as far as those three guys, it's like an all-star squad on the babyface side, and they got some big names on the heel side too. So now that they have fleshed things out and we know who's going to be in the War Games match, they opted not to go with John Cena because we were wondering would they work Cena in there with Lesnar on the other side and follow up on what happened to WrestlePalooza. Obviously, now the answer is no.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense now. So, I mean, there's no sense to talk about it.
I mean, they just brought Brock back just to beat the shit out of him, and that was the end of that. So, yeah, good job there, guys. But yeah, at least most of the people in that match, even Logan wrestled Roman once for the championship. Yes. He wrestled Cody for the championship. Now he's working with Punk. So, there's history there.
And that is also a good reason as far as the babyface side to pair Roman, Cody, and Punk together. I mean, all of them have tensions as well. You don't think Roman wants a shot at Cody in the WWE title again? What's the tensions like? What are the tensions going to be like inside that cage with both of them? Obviously, Roman and Punk don't like each other, stemming from what happened at WrestleMania and the whole Paul Heyman ordeal. And then obviously with the Usos and Roman and Jimmy thinking that Jay is taking advice from Roman and he's acting like a little mini Roman. And then obviously Roman has a problem with his cousins who cost him his match with Bronson Reed at Crown Jewel. So it's not just baby faces versus heels. It's actually, there's a lot of tensions in the babyface team that could be a combustible element in that War Games match as well. So there's a lot of moving parts there, which I'm excited to see. Legitimately, the only thing on the show I'm looking forward to, but we will definitely see how that all plays out.
So you would think, right, that Brock is going to start the match. I just can't see him locked in one of those little cages with everybody else. I would imagine he starts the War Games match.
I would say so, yes. That's a better idea than Nia starting the match, yes.
Well, I'm just trying to visualize him just standing there in the cage, with Logan Paul. I mean, it could be comedic to see Logan Paul standing there trying not to make eye contact with Brock Lesnar as they're locked in this cage together. I mean, being locked in a cage that small with Brock Lesnar would, probably make me shit my pants.
Maybe he'll get his own cage.
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay.
No, they got their two cages and that's it.
I hope that there is no cage and they just do what AEW did for Blood and Guts and just have everybody come out after a buzzer goes off. That's the way to do it, honestly. I think the shark cages look lame.
I thought you were going to say, why not just have the door open so that people can just freely come in and out like they were doing on Wednesday?
Yes,
just do that. Just make it easy for them.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, too, because, I mean, there was a lot to like about those matches, and there was certainly a lot to not like about those matches, but that is definitely one of them. So, yes, that's the men's side, and that was SmackDown on Friday. Again, a good I don't want to even say good. It's not fair to say it was an okay show. There's a lot more work to be done for it to be a good show. Now, what is not good, what is actually very depressing, is the news that broke this week that unfortunately SmackDown is going back to 3 hours on January 2nd, 2026. From the KeyBank Center in Buffalo, New York, they're going back to 3 hours, Jason. WrestleVotes is reporting this. SmackDown actually started 2025 off as a 3-hour show, and then that last hour was dropped back on the 4th of July this year. There's been no official word on this yet, and the show was going back to 3 hours, going right into WrestleMania season, and people are coming up with reasons as to why. Extra ad revenue. Maybe it's a reason that the WWE is adding the third hours is to combat the ratings, which I don't really see makes sense because that third hour usually brings down the rating. It doesn't enhance the overall rating. So I don't really think that's a reason why. And plus, with this roster of talent on Friday, they don't even have enough manpower and woman power to even offset a 3-hour program. They can barely book a 2-hour show that is watchable. Now you're going to add an extra hour to do what? Give more time to who? Mia Yim? Julia? Who are you going to give more time to? So I hear a lot of excuses, Jason. The same thing that we talked about back in the beginning of the year when it went to 3 hours. More people are going to get more opportunities, and there's going to be more talent showcased and this and that. It's not about the length of the show. And I know you talked about this as well. It's not about the length of the show. It's about the roster being absolutely depleted and the creative that is fucking awful. Now, when SmackDown was 3 hours, Roman Reigns and the Bloodline were running wild on SmackDown. We had Sami Zayn as the honorary Uce. Jason, it is easy to book a 3-hour SmackDown when you have the Bloodline taking up 30 to 45 minutes of the open of the show. And you can operate as a 2-hour program from thereafter. So right now, they don't have that. So booking a 3-hour show with just matches and no story, it is going to be a very insufferable winter covering SmackDown, and I don't really look forward to it. It's not about the length of the show. They need to make changes to the roster. They need to add much more depth to that. But I'm trying to figure out why a decision like this is made. Now, they did move it from 2 to 3 hours at the beginning of this year, and it kind of led into WrestleMania season, and then they stopped and went back to 2 hours in the middle of the year because there was no real content there. So is WWE using this as a strategy to kind of enhance WrestleMania season? Let's do an extra hour on SmackDown. We'll be in the middle of our biggest season of the year, and then we'll go back to 2 hours when the product really doesn't have much going on. Is it something more of a strategy to do the 3 hours, or is it political and USA wants it because they want that extra ad revenue and they want to get the return on investment?
This is USA. Like, it has to be USA. Because the more WWE content that USA can get, the happier they are. You know, because USA Network doesn't have a whole lot else. So to me, this reeks of just a USA Network call, and WWE is more than happy to go along with it, especially if they get any extra, income out of it. But this is a USA Network. Dude, remember, why did Raw go to 3 hours in 2012? That was a USA Network call. That was their idea. So I am sure this was a USA thing. And by the way, you mentioned it's going to be a tough winter unless they make changes to this show. It's going to be a tough winter and spring into summertime, because I saw TC from WrestleVotes replied to somebody and said this is probably going to be through at least June, which makes sense because that's what it was this year. When it went back to 2 hours, it was July 4th. And I remember this because I was on my SmackDown review celebrating our Independence Day and our independence from 3-hour SmackDowns, and I was very happy. And so now here we are again, where it's probably going to be through June or July. It could eventually turn into a permanent thing, but even if it's only temporary, it's going to probably be for the first half of the year. And major changes need to be made to this show. And I think, you've talked about it on your end. I've talked about it on my end. If they make those changes, it will make the show more tolerable. But I just don't believe that there's any weekly wrestling show that needs to be 3 hours. I don't care what the initials are. I don't care what company it is. I don't care how good the show is. Look, if it was the Attitude Era, dude, those Raws didn't have to be 3 hours back then either.
No.
Because eventually, you burn people out. Now, at least then, there was a lot going on. The product was fun. There's nothing fun about SmackDown.
No. And I think I think we both talked about it too. Like, you and I grew up during the 2-hour eras of Raw and SmackDown. And then they moved to 3 hours, and they stayed 3 hours for 14 fucking years. And a lot of people grew up not with what we watched when we were growing up during the Attitude Era, 2-hour Raws. They grew up during the 3-hour era of Vince McMahon's fucking Monday Night Raw, and that's all they know. And now, by condition, they are to believe that 3-hour SmackDowns and 3-hour Raws are the ways to go because more talent's going to get more opportunity. Yeah. I don't give a fuck how you're watching the show. 2 hours of television is more than enough for a pro wrestling show to get across storylines and showcase talent. It's all about how you manage it, and it's terrible how they manage things on Friday night. The night and day comparison, bro, to Monday and Friday, especially after what we saw last night. I mean, like I don't even know if it's the same fucking company. It's a completely different company on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the worst part are just the people who have been conditioned to believe that 3 hours is sort of the norm. And in order to make these shows work and to get everybody, you know, into a proper story, well, you have to have 3 hours. And it's so inaccurate. Like, that's just not true. You know, I've watched enough wrestling as a fan over the years. I've seen 1-hour shows where you can get certain characters and angles over. If you can't book an interesting or exciting wrestling show in 2 hours and you feel as if you need 3 hours in order to do it, then you're doing it wrong. But they're going to have that extra hour. So if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And what my hope is that all the changes that I've been waiting to see and hoping to see on Friday can finally happen. And one of the things they need to do, the women's division as one example, and the tag team division is another. I mean, there's a lot of holes in this show, but like the women's division is the real kind of glaring issue right now because they just don't have enough people. So Lash Legend got called up. Got to get more people up. I think it's ridiculous. They haven't, it's been over a year, dude. It's been like a year and a half. They have not done anything to really refresh the SmackDown roster. I don't know why it's taking them so long. They have to be, I mean, they're the ones who put these shows together. They have to know. They look at the roster and they see who do we have, who do we not have. They know. They're not stupid. Bianca Belair is out. Randy Orton is out. Kevin Owens is out, right? Injuries have been an issue. But like this roster needs a reset or a refresh in some way. That's number one. But you've got to bolster the women's division. You've got to get 1 or 2 new tag teams in there because you keep going around the horn with the same teams. There's nothing interesting about that. And I use the MFTs as an example. You brought them up before. I don't know about you. I'm not a fan of the presentation of the MFTs.
No, I'm not.
I'm being very diplomatic when I say that.
I hated it when I first saw them come back all together, all 5 of them.
Yeah, I'm being diplomatic when I say that. And I it's not because I think that, you know, they all suck. Like, I have nothing personally against anybody in the group. And I've seen Solo Sikoa, for example, can be very funny and very entertaining.
Yes.
He's got that in him. So my idea was just as an idea to throw out there. If you're going to feature this group on this show, now maybe they want them to be heels and that's that. But I think that you can feature them as heels. They're not a main event heel faction. And they're never going to be looked at as a main event heel faction and a bunch of tough guys. And they're just not going to be seen at that level. But I think that you can actually turn them into something of a joke. Like in over a period of a few months where you turn it into a more humorous thing. And I think the more you do that, it allows you to flesh out each individual character. They can show more of their personality and interact. I think you can get them over as like big time baby faces on SmackDown. And then and in doing so, get Solo Sikoa over as a big time baby face. Because remember, in NXT, he was over. He was super over as a baby face.
Yep.
But he was like the street fighter tough guy. This is taking a different approach to it. Where like the other members of the group, it's almost like the gang that can't shoot straight, where they're like a bunch of tryhards, and you know Tongaloa keeps like fucking something up, but we don't hear from them. We don't see any sort of character development like that. I think if you take that approach, they will get over. They will get really super over as baby faces, like in the first half of next year. And then they'll be entertaining to watch, and you can kind of turn that into something. And that's just one idea. I just feel like they take the path of least resistance with the way they book this show. It's not fun. It's not exciting. There's nothing terribly creative about anything they're doing on Fridays. Now you're giving us another hour. And let's be honest, what is the extra hour? It's going to be realistically 30 minutes of actual content and 30 minutes of more ads that they can give to us. That's really what we're going to end up getting at.
Yeah, but 30 minutes of matches and 30 minutes of matches with no story. That's what's going to be the killer there.
Or bad stories that just are not terribly interesting. They would tell you, no, there's story here. But are you moved by these stories? Are you interested in what they're trying to tell you with these stories? That's my point. Like, this show needs a shot in the arm or a kick in the ass, or maybe both. Especially if you're going to give us another hour of this shit. That's the best we could hope for, because this is going to happen. And I sure hope that, when we're talking about this 6 months from now, the roster is stronger and they get some people back and we're heading into WrestleMania, and hopefully they could turn things around, because SmackDown on some weeks is unwatchable.
SmackDown has
become that's at 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's at 2 hours.
Yeah. Now they have to go back to kind of rethinking about how to write the show now over a 3-hour stretch after they did it for 2 hours. So how is that mentally going to take its toll on the writing team? SmackDown, to me, it's gotten to a point where things that I want to do, vacations I may want to take, or time off I may want to take, it is always going to revolve around SmackDown. I would rather miss Friday than even Wednesday. I think Wednesday is a better stream for me and the content I create, and I certainly won't miss a Monday, because Monday is the biggest night of the week as far as what we do. Friday has become the weakest night, and by so much numerically, it is the weakest night of the fucking week. I have no problem taking off Friday, because honestly, if you do, you don't miss anything. You can catch up with it on 10-minute clips, 10-minute YouTube videos that WWE posts on their YouTube channel. So they're basically inviting you, please don't watch the show. You can catch up on everything that we got going on Friday on a YouTube video, which is what I may plan to do if I want to take some time off or go to a concert or whatever. It's just what the state of SmackDown has become. It's awful.
Yeah.
So that was SmackDown. That's the news coming out.
Oh, you didn't know?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, he better know something going into the new year. Otherwise, we're going to be.
There's a no shit, apparently, based on these shows that we're watching.
He doesn't know shit. I don't know. Listen, I got no problem with Brian James, man, but he cannot be the one solely to blame here. It is definitely Levesque.
No, of course,
for sure.
not.
So please don't strictly, it's Road Dogg's fault. No, it's Triple H's fault. So that's SmackDown. We're unfortunately going back to 3 hours. Raw. I mean, they got the sweet spot. They are some weeks 2 hours and 20 minutes, 2 hours, 25 minutes. I mean, I think the only time they even came close to 3 hours was, I would say, that first January 6th show this year. And then one of the other shows not too long ago, 2 weeks ago, maybe they went 2 hours and 40 minutes. So last night they came in just at about 2.5 hours. That's the sweet spot here. And Monday night was in Madison Square Garden. Big night. John Cena's last night in Madison Square Garden and on Monday Night Raw. This was an epic night here. He came out to start the show, and once again, Jason, he was interrupted by Dominic Mysterio. And again, got to give credit where credit is due. Dave Meltzer got another one correct as far as his Survivor Series coverage. He called Gunther. He called the tournament happening with Gunther winning the tournament, which it looks like it may actually end up being the case. And he actually predicted, or got good word, that Dominic and John Cena was the plan for Survivor Series, with or without the title. I mean, we didn't know then, but now we know. It's going to be John Cena and Dominic Mysterio again for the Intercontinental Championship at Survivor Series. This makes Dominic R-Truth, unfortunately, which honestly I didn't even remember as of last night, and Cody Rhodes as the only three men in 2025 to wrestle John Cena in his final year twice. Now, if you go and look at what John Cena has done and said over the last couple of weeks, he's visited the Performance Center, he's hung out at the Dungeon with Natty, and he's kind of taking this role as, like, in his final weeks, kind of looking at the future and looking at the youth, and he's put over Javon Evans, which we'll get into in a little bit. Big.
He's going to be making, I don't know if it'll be live or if they shot a video at the Garden last night, but apparently he will be on NXT next week. Making the announcement of the entrance into the Iron Survivor match. Okay, well, there you go. So, yes, he's definitely got this thing about leaving the company in better hands and in the hands of the young kids in the future of the WWE. Now, again, I think Dominic and his inclusion in the Judgment Day and the segments that we got with Dominic and him as an overall character has been a lot better this year than we've seen. We've seen him grow, and we've seen him mature and become the performer that he is today. And it's only going to get better. This is not Dominic's final shape and final form at all. But some people may look at this as a hot take, or they may disagree with it.
even though this is the one instance, Jason, that makes the most sense, because I would rather this than a one-off match with Sheamus or anybody else that WWE could put in there against John Cena at Survivor Series for the IC title, or Rey Mysterio. Having Dominic wrestle John Cena at Survivor Series, to me, makes the most sense. But I'm not excited to see the match again, and I hope that changes are made in San Diego as opposed to what we saw in Boston last week, because it felt like a house show match last week, and it was for the moment and to give John Cena that Grand Slam accolade. And I hope with what we've seen with John Cena against Styles and Logan Paul and Cody at SummerSlam, Sami Zayn, the caliber of matches that we've gotten out of him as he turned babyface, I hope that continues with Dominic. I don't know if that's going to be a realistic possibility. I don't know how Dominic and John Cena are going to operate as compared to the other matches we've seen from him. I'm not excited to see this match for a second time. I don't know how you feel about it, but it does make the most sense out of everything we got.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It will, and look, I mean, Dom will become the first person to get 3 matches with John Cena this year, because technically it'll be their 3rd match together. And Dom is the future. You know, I said this last night on my end. Dom is one of 5 people who I think they're going to build around over the next 5 to 10 years. So he's going to end up being a huge babyface. He'll be a world champion at some point. That time will come. Clearly, they're building him up for that. I think even just in his interactions on the mic with John Cena, he's held his own. You know, he's got a certain confidence about him that you can't really teach. You know, he's adapted well to, he can pretty much hang with anybody and work with anybody. So I'm more curious about how they do the finish, you know, because I can't see him just beating Cena clean. That's my issue with it. So we're going to have the Judgment Day get involved, or, you know, Grande Americano. Like, I don't know if we're going to have all kinds of shenanigans and stuff. But he is one of those guys that I think they are going to build around for years to come. And so they want to put him in a position where he could say he beat John Cena. Because to me, you don't do this match unless he's winning back the championship.
Sure.
Right? There's no point in doing this match and just having him lose again.
Well, it also makes sense for Cena to lose the championship before he wrestles his final opponent. Yeah.
He has to. He has to. If they're doing Cena and Gunther, that does not need the championship. So he must drop that title then to Dom at Survivor Series. But I said, like, he's one of those, like, about 5 guys I think that they're going to build around. It's going to be Dom. It's going to be Braun Breaker. It's going to be Obafemi. It's going to be Jacob Fatu. And it's going to be Javon Evans.
Yeah.
I think those are your 5 right there. So it makes sense to do it. I'm curious also what the reaction is going to be, how split it's going to be, because they are going to be in San Diego. So Dom, in the last few weeks in Boston and in New York, he's been getting booed like he was a couple of years ago, where it's like they're trying to drown him out, right? Now, because in recent months, he's gotten a lot of cheers, but he hasn't gotten that in the last few weeks. How split is it going to be when he's in his hometown? Because I just can't see these people just booing John Cena out of the building. So that can make the match even more fun. If you get like a 50-50 split and people are losing their minds and they're half for cheering for Cena, half for cheering for Dom, that's what I think is going to make this match. I think it's the atmosphere. I think it's knowing that this is John Cena's final PLE match. You know, his last Survivor Series. After this, he's got 1 left. We're really getting down to the wire here. So I think and how many people are they going to have at Petco? Probably, what, 35,000 or something?
They got at least, the last I saw is close to 35, if not a little bit over 35,000 for now. For Survivor Series.
And now, is that outdoors? It's an outdoor?
It's an outdoor stadium, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the atmosphere, that's what's going to really make the match. I'm not worried about them having a house show match or a bad match. That was on TV. They're going to have a much better match and a longer match than the one they had on Raw last week. I'm not worried about that. I just wish there was some more variety in the opponents that Cena had the chance to work with, because there were so many other people you could have put him in the ring with, including people he's never wrestled before.
Yeah.
And
well, people were complaining that was the last John Cena match on Raw. I mean, he should have wrestled Braun Breaker. He should have wrestled Penta. How about Sheamus? I'm like, guys, I understand you want John Cena versus a Breaker or a Sheamus, but it doesn't make sense. Like, why do you want to risk these one-offs with absolutely no direction and no build just to give John Cena a match against these current guys who everybody's high on? Like, I don't want to see Sheamus and John Cena in the ring unless it means something. And I don't want Sheamus challenging for the Intercontinental Championship unless it's at a WrestleMania. So why would we rush to do that? So people were complaining to complain last night.
last night was a house show match, but it was fun. You could see like they were all having fun working together. I thought the finishing sequence was a lot of fun. It was just like boom, 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 and I didn't have any issue with it, And then as they're leaving, Sheamus is like hugging Cena, Ray's like on his back, and they're all walking out together, and you got that shot of the three of them posing on the stage. That's what the crowd wanted to see. They wanted to see John Cena go in there and win. And so they decided, because what did I say a few weeks ago here on TNT? I said, watch for the match to be John Cena in a tag team match with either Rey Mysterio, or maybe they put Penta in that spot, but maybe Cena and Rey against Balor and Dom. And they did that. They just added Sheamus and McDonough, and they turned it into a 6-man tag.
Well, Sheamus has been feuding with the Judgment Day, so it did make sense to add Sheamus in there too. So I like that.
And we have history between Sheamus and Cena, so it was a chance to see the two of them working together, even though they weren't wrestling each other. But Sheamus is still in the tournament, so technically there's still a chance that we could get Cena against Sheamus, even though we know that that's not going to happen. So yeah, no, I had no issue with them doing that match the way they did last night. It was a house show match, but it was a lot of fun. And also, you don't want Cena doing too much, because you got two really important matches coming up, and then that's it. And so putting him in a tag situation like this, where you build to the hot tag, it protects him. He doesn't have to do too much. What did he do? He did the greatest hits, right? He did
He did nothing.
Tackles.
He stood on the match the match went 15 minutes. We got 6 minutes of commercials. He stood on the apron for about more than half the match.
Yeah, and they all did we got the triple 10 beats. We got the 15 knuckle shuffle with all three of them, and and then they went into their finishers. So I didn't have an issue with it. The crowd ate it up. That's all it really needed to be.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. And Cena has 2 more matches left on his schedule. Plus, as the chat said, an appearance on NXT TV next week. We don't know if he's going to be live in attendance, or, like Jason said, it was a filmed pre-taped segment, so we'll see next week.
Yeah, if he's just naming the names of the people who were in the match, unless he added a date, because remember, he had a set number of dates.
Yes.
So my guess would be he won't be there live.
We'll see what happens there. I unfortunately willed this into existence, and I wish I hadn't. Stephanie Vaquera and Nikki Bella announced for Survivor Series for the Women's World Championship, but we got an angle last night where Stephanie was supposed to speak to Jackie Redmond about the attack. Nikki Bella came out to attack Stephanie in the aisleway before she could even make it to the ring to interview with Jackie Redmond. And she went on to say, Jason, that she wants a championship match, and Vaquera would bow down to the woman who changed the entire industry. And she posed with the belt. Now,
Stephanie
no, not even close, but I know Ziggler was in attendance, and I know Ziggler has his comedy shtick. Maybe Nikki was taking some pointers from Dolph on how to get into comedy, right?
This was the worst segment on the entire show.
This was awful.
But do you know why? I'll tell you why. Stephanie Vaquera comes out. She gets attacked on stage, right? The women's world champion. She gets thrown one time into the video screen. And it's not like she's unconscious or anything. And Nikki Bella goes on to cut, a fairly not a long promo, but she had some things to say. And Stephanie is just laying there looking up at her, letting her speak, and not even reacting to what just happened.
Well,
after the angle last week where this woman turned heel on her. So this is the second time now that she's been laid out.
Yeah.
And she's just on the ground looking up and not fighting back or reacting or anything. It made her look so weak and pathetic.
Chat. I don't want to deviate away here, but JC just beat Tatum for the NXT Women's Championship again. JC Jane is now a
Jane? JC Jane
is a 2-time NXT Women's Champion. Yes.
Well, I mean, in all seriousness, I don't think anybody should have expected that Tatum Paxley was going to have that for very long.
No.
I'm really not that surprised by that.
I'm sorry for the Tatum fanatics out there, but
this is the second time now that I have been surprised by a JC Jane championship title change here.
She's never going to graduate NXT, bros, because you're going to be down there forever.
Shawn Michaels loves her. Shawn Michaels thinks she's great. And so, hey, she's got a good gig going down there. And she's made improvements. She's had some good matches this year.
Yeah, she's
in a much better position than she was previously. So good for her. But
she's not.
I'll tell you what, they could certainly use Fatal Influence on SmackDown right now. I'll take JC Jane on SmackDown just because we need some new faces on SmackDown.
Now you put it that way. I'm not the biggest fan, but I would absolutely make that move, yes.
Yes.
Totally would.
Yes. All three of them, though, not just JC by herself, but I would call the whole.
Yeah. Fallon Henley, too. Yeah, call them all up.
Yep. Fallon Henley, absolutely. But yeah, so this was not a good segment. This was not good. I thought it made Stephanie look very weak, and the promo was very flat.
Yeah.
And nobody cared.
No. You know, when you hold someone down by nothing but their hair, they're immobile. You can't move. So that's what
Yeah,
happened.
it was like some sort of she was like paralyzed with fear or something, I guess. You know? I don't know.
Well, I don't. Tell me if I'm wrong here, man. I don't. Listen, I have nothing against Nikki Bella. She wants to end her story her own way, and she wants to come back and kind of integrate herself into this women's division. Kudos to her, man. That's a lot, especially after the injury. To get herself back in wrestling shape, good on her. But I'm not a fan of what we've seen so far. She's lost 3 matches, so giving her a championship match really, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't make any sense.
Well, right, and Roxanne Perez said the same thing.
Yes.
During one of the commercials last night, they interviewed Roxanne and Raquel. I think Byron interviewed them up in like the balcony. And Roxanne is like, why is she getting a championship match? I've beaten her twice. How come she gets a title match? I'm like, you know what? She's right.
No idea, but that's the case there. But tell me if I'm wrong, man. Nikki Bella, she didn't really gravitate, or the fans rather didn't gravitate to her as a babyface. And you would think, I was like, all right, maybe the heel shtick is going to work better for her. Maybe she comes off as a presentation better. Maybe she cuts a better promo. She cut that promo last night, and I don't really think that the fans believed in anything that she said. Now, I don't know if that was supposed to be that way because she's a heel and she's supposed to be outlandish and say wild things that are wildly untrue. But I didn't believe in anything that she said, and I genuinely don't think that Nikki Bella believed in the words that she said last night. Do you find that to be a problem? Did you feel that same way when she cut that promo last night?
No, I just thought it was very flat. It just didn't resonate. You know, it sounds like, yeah, when I listen to it, it just sounds like, okay, it's a promo that's being recited, and I don't believe in it. You know, whether she believes in it or not, I mean, I don't know. I don't feel anything, you know, during these segments, and they don't get a lot of heat. It's not like she got a ton of heat for attacking Stephanie. So it's just kind of like, it was sort of this feeling of like, I don't know. I'm not really feeling much of anything as I'm watching this. And then they made the announcement of the match at Survivor Series. Now let me float an idea that you're not going to like.
Uh-oh.
But could you see them
No.
busting out some twin magic?
No, I mentioned this last night too. No.
And having a new champion crowned
No.
at Survivor Series to give Stephanie something to do in the meantime so she could win her belt back.
No.
That'll get them to the beginning of the year when we get into Mania season, and then they could set up whatever Stephanie's Mania program is going to be.
No, I don't like that. I mean,
No twin magic?
Well,
I'm not saying if
listen,
you like it. I'm saying, do you think it might happen?
Well, yes,
Or-
it might happen, because if it doesn't happen, then the heel turn doesn't make any sense. We'll be right back to the Jade Cargill situation. They turned Jade heel, and then they capitalized on the heel turn by having her win the title.
Yeah, but I said the same thing about Naomi when she initially turned heel earlier in the year, and then she went to Mania and lost to Jade. So just because she turned heel doesn't mean they wouldn't beat her.
Maybe I don't know. Beating her clean. Where does it go? Like, what happens to Nikki Bella? Nobody's gonna believe in Nikki Bella now, and they're not gonna believe after that.
Well, they come out on Raw the next week, and there's a pull apart, and they do a rematch on Saturday night's main event or something. Just because she beats her doesn't mean they're not going to run it back again.
I don't know. Listen, Nikki Bella doesn't fit into the current ecosystem of the women's division. I don't think So
you don't think they had JC Jane beat Stephanie Vicaire earlier this year? You don't think that Nikki Bella doesn't have a shot at beating Stephanie? Like they wouldn't put Nikki Bella over Stephanie Vicaire?
You know, Stephanie, no, I think it's a possibility. I hope it's not something that they do. I don't understand the booking around Stephanie Vicaire. They first of all, they strapped the rocket to her very quickly, and she talked about winning 4 different championships this year in her first year in WWE. I mean, that is an accolade in itself. So, yes, they're clearly high on her. I think instead of naturally letting it take its course and play out, they really rushed to something hastily for whatever reason. I don't know why. Stephanie's the type of character that the more you see her, the more you appreciate her, and then you're eventually going to cheer for her and really appreciate what she does. But WWE wanted to just go from 0 to 100 with Stephanie for whatever reason. I don't think that they've given her a fair shake at this women's championship thing. Like, they haven't done anything creatively to really say, this is our woman. They haven't given her the caliber of opponents. in the ring. Roxanne's great, but they didn't have a really good match. And I feel like the talent of wrestler that they're putting in there with Stephanie, Jason, I feel like Stephanie's kind of working behind instead of working evenly with somebody like an Io or a Rhea or an Asuka. I don't think that the women they put in there with Stephanie even match up to Stephanie. I think it's actually hurting Stephanie in the long run. I don't know how you feel about it, but that's just my perception of what we're seeing so far with her title reign.
Well, I mean, I think it's also just the nature of the kind of matches we sometimes get on WWE television, where it feels like, I feel that way when I watch Io sometimes, where it's like she's holding back, because they only have so much time, or maybe it has to do with the person she's in the ring with. Because if you watch, I guarantee you, if you took some of these women and WWE sent them over to like do a match in Japan for some other promotion, right? Or they went to go work somewhere else. And Natty in Bloodsport maybe is a good example of this, where it looks like a totally different person. So there are people who will work a totally different style on WWE television than if you were to put them in there with a different caliber of opponent on another show entirely. It's like, wait a minute, I'm seeing them do stuff here that I don't see them do on Monday nights. I think there might be some of that going on with a lot of women on that roster, not just Stephanie, but Io and others as well.
Yeah, I hope it's not a situation where she is just kind of there and she's great and we know how great she is, and WWE's not really exposing what she can do in that ring like Io. Io took forever to get going, and this year was legitimately, out of all the years she's been there, this was her breakout year on the main roster. This was her best year ever, and she's been there what seemingly feels like forever. So I hope that's not the same route that Stephanie Vicaire is going to take, and she's just way too good for everybody that she's been in the ring with so far.
Yeah. Well, look at the match she had with Io at WrestlePalooza. Look at the match she had with Mercedes when they wrestled at Forbidden Door.
Yeah.
The match with Julia earlier this year when they did Roadblock.
She wrestled Io twice, actually.
Yeah. So, I mean, we know what she's capable of, but, we just don't get to see it as often as we would like.
So, yeah, that's happening at Survivor Series. I wish they would have held that for a Monday Night Raw. I mean, I don't know why that's got to be in San Diego. I honestly, I said this last night. You may think I'm crazy. I would actually prefer to see the elimination match that they got coming up with the MFTs and Sami Zayn. I would rather see that at Survivor Series than this match.
So you would rather see the MFTs at Survivor Series than this match? That's a bold statement there.
Yes.
You want to stand by that?
I'm going to stand by that, yeah.
Well, I would just rather they not do a Survivor Series elimination match on television.
With commercials.
I mean, with commercials, right? Because those Survivor Series elimination matches, they'll probably go 25, 30 minutes. So we're looking at like 3 commercial breaks, chopping that match up. I'm glad we're getting one, but I just wish it wasn't on TV.
How quickly does Tonga Loa get eliminated, bro? Is he going to be in there for the duration of the match, or is he going to be out in 90 seconds?
I would say that he'll be the first one in, and then he'll get like rolled up instantly and then pinned. Like you blink and he'll be out of there.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's coming up. Survivor Series elimination match between those 2 teams. I stand by that. I would rather see that match at Survivor Series. We don't know if they're going to add a 5th, because right now there's only 4.
Well, there should be a 5th.
Yes.
I still say they do the finals of the tournament there.
I hope.
I could see them doing it and saving it for Raw that Monday, but I think you do it at Survivor Series, and there you get your 5 matches right there. Unless they think the War Games matches are going to be so long, which they may be. They could go 40 minutes each. Then maybe they want to keep it to 4. How many matches did we have on the card last year? Did they have 4 or 5?
I think it was 4.
It might have been 4. So it's possible they'll save the tournament finals for TV. I think it should happen at Survivor Series. Man, imagine if it was Survivor Series with Gunther and Dragunov, and you gave them like 25 minutes.
Well, I mean, I hope it's Gunther and anybody. Gunther and Sheamus, Gunther and Penta
Gunther
in the
and Jey
final.
Uso? No, not anybody. Don't say that. See? You make these broad statements. All right, let's see. Last year's show had
what was the card last year?
Well, you had the 2 War Games matches. You had Shinsuke Nakamura and LA Knight.
Oh, God.
For the U.S. title. You had that great match with Braun Breaker, Sheamus, and Ludwig Kaiser.
That was a good match, yeah.
And you had Gunther against Damian Priest for the world title.
I don't remember that being that bad either.
So you had 5. So, you can do the tournament final on that show.
Yes, hopefully that's
here's why I think you need to do the tournament final on that show. Because I think what you want to do is after Cena loses to Dom, I think you have let's assume it's going to be Gunther. You're going to have Gunther come out and have, even if it's just like a stare down, but you have a confrontation between them. You have some sort of interaction between Cena and the man that is going to be his last opponent.
Yes.
Because you are not going to get Cena on television until Saturday night's main event. That will be the only opportunity to have any sort of interaction between him and his final opponent. So I think it's important to do that match on that show before the Cena match. And then after Cena's match, you could do, whatever little angle you're going to do, but you do it there. You do it on that show.
I agree with that. I hope that is the case, and hopefully they go and do that for sure. Gunther versus Sheamus, Gunther versus Penta. I would take any one of those two matches to be the final at Survivor Series. Speaking of the tournament, Solo Sikoa wrestled a returning Dolph Ziggler last night, who got a massive reaction in New York City at Madison Square Garden. He looks great. I think he is fantastic. I think he's one of the best in the entire world, and obviously with what he's done along his WWE career, he's put in the work. And I feel like with him in this tournament, Jason, obviously he has a history with John Cena, and he wrestled Solo Sikoa here. I was hoping on a wing and a prayer that he would advance over Solo, because, I mean, the way the fans reacted to him, it was like, oh, man, it would be so great if he advanced. But, obviously with Solo and the MFTs, you want to make them look strong going into the match. I was hoping, but I had to become a little realistic in the creative with this. But this was actually, I don't know if you agree, this was actually Solo's best match this year. And it's not a surprise being in there with Dolph.
Yeah, I think if you're being realistic, like once you saw that it was Ziggler, like he didn't have a chance because he's not under contract. And he's the TNA guy, which they never acknowledged for him or Cardona that they currently work for TNA. It was just like, oh my God, Zack Ryder's been on the sidelines for 5 years and now he's back. Holy shit, what's he been doing? Maybe he took up painting. Maybe he took up some other hobby. I don't know. So that coupled with the fact that, yes, the MFTs, they actually have it's not at Survivor Series, but they have a big match coming up. So you had to know that he wasn't going to win. But man, the reaction when he hit that zigzag and he went for that cover and he got the near fall, it reminded me a little bit of when he did that and cashed in on Del Rio, because that's how he won it. And I remember when he hit that zigzag, I was in the building that night and the place just exploded. But it was good to see him. I mean, it was weird for me because I called his match on Saturday, and so now here he is on Raw on Monday, and I'm like, oh wow, this is interesting.
Yeah.
So he comes out there, and I think even when he was coming out, if you really go back and listen, he made a comment, I think, about TNA, like TNA #1 or whatever, as he was coming out. So it was good for him to get that kind of reaction. He's another one who there were opportunities over the years to, I think, get him up to that next level, and they just never pulled the trigger, because he definitely could have done more than what he did, and he did a lot. Like, 2-time world champion, IC champ, US tag, like he did it all, Money in the Bank. But he never truly ascended to like main event status. And there was an opportunity there around 2014, 2015, where they really had a chance to do it. Vince just didn't see him in that role. And what happens? You're there for so long that after a while, people only see you at a certain level. So unfortunately, that's what happened with Ziggler.
Yeah, I said this last night. It's a shame because Dolph is so fucking good at what he does. He's got a lot of what I liked about Mr. Perfect. He's one of the best sellers in the
bumping.
business. Yeah, the best sellers in the Perfect was fucking incredible. Dolph is great. Every time he's in the ring with somebody, he just makes them look so much better. He made Solo look great.
But that was his undoing, though. I think that really is what worked against him more than anything else, is that he was too good at making other people look good.
And he became a gatekeeper like The Miz, basically.
It became his calling card. It's like, oh shit, we have somebody that we really want to push. We got to put him with Dolph.
Yeah.
Because Dolph will bump all over the world for him and make him look like $1 million. And that could work to your disadvantage. And I think that's what happened with him.
Yeah, he's it's crazy. I said that last night. It's just like he's become the gatekeeper, or he was the gatekeeper, just like The Miz is the gatekeeper. If you can get over in a match with Dolph and you can stand toe to toe with The Miz on a promo, you're ready to ascend to the next level. So it's sad that they only looked at him that way. He's still excellent at what he does, and this was a very good match. He lost, unfortunately, to Solo. Solo advances, and I don't know if you have it in front of you. I think Solo wrestles the winner of who? Finn Balor and Penta?
Penta and Finn Balor.
Okay.
So that should be Penta.
Yes.
I think it's going to be Finn Balor. And so Penta should be moving on, and I would hope that then Penta would beat Solo, and then
Yes.
it just becomes a matter of, do we get Gunther and Penta in the finals? Like, is that the final that we're looking at?
Yeah, I wish they gave us some brackets. It could be Penta and Gunther in the semifinals, and then Sheamus versus Rusev in the semifinals, and then we end up with Gunther and Sheamus in a rematch at Survivor Series.
And then Gunther and Jey Uso.
Yeah, I don't know where he fits. What side is he on? Is it going to be Gunther, Jey Uso in the semifinals again? Please. I don't even want to see them in the same building. Never mind the same match.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's not the finals, but I have no appetite for it really at all in this tournament. So if it's not Jey Uso against Gunther, then who does Jey wrestle?
Maybe we'll get Jey versus
Rusev.
Solo.
Jey.
You know Triple H loves his Hawaii family, man.
Yeah. Why did you have to say that?
I listen. You got to bring all the variables to the table, man. I don't know.
Fucker. So then Jey, but who's winning that match? Jey is winning that match. So are you putting him in the finals?
I hope not. I hope not. I don't.
You can't put him in the finals if it's going to be a Survivor Series. That's the only saving grace here. I'm pretty sure that if they're going to do the finals of Survivor Series, then Jey can't be in it because he's already in War Games.
Yeah, well, we'll get to it. I mean, there are still some names I'd like to see advance further in this tournament than people give them credit for. Uso is not one of them. We'll talk about
I
that.
would have liked to have seen Javon advance further. That's why I originally, weeks ago on this show, what did I tell you? I said Gunther and Javon in the finals, not in the opening round.
I understand it. We'll get to that. But I agree with you. If I was booking this thing, Evans would have beaten Gunther at least last night to move on because it's a sense of unpredictability. You can't do that.
They're saving the big upset for Friday when Carmelo Hayes beats Bronson Reed.
Okay, well that's what I was about to say. We still have Reed, we still have Carmelo Hayes, and we got Penta. Penta's not young, but Reed and Carmelo Hayes are young.
Well, Carmelo Hayes, I think, is 31, I think. Yeah. And Carmelo Hayes, everyone talks about Javon Evans and all, this young talent that they have, other talent coming out of NXT. And I think people still sleep on Carmelo Hayes because he's been on the main roster now for like a year and a half, and they really haven't done a whole hell of a lot with him. He won the Andre Battle Royal, but really what else has he done? He's really, really good. And if he wins on Friday, which I'm going to say he does, he's probably backdooring into a win. Because the last thing we saw on SmackDown on Friday was, Bronson Reed gave Cody Rhodes a tsunami splash. So that's why I figure Hayes wins because Reed is going to get, screwed out of a win in some way. It's not like he's going to beat him clean. But I'm pretty sure that we're going to see Hayes move on, and that'll be like the big upset of the tournament.
You don't see Miz screwing Carmelo Hayes out of this tournament?
I think there's a better chance that Reed gets screwed out of a win to give us that one big upset.
All right.
Now, maybe in the next round, if Hayes is wrestling, I don't know who he'd be wrestling, but if he moves on in the tournament, you could do that in the next round. And then it's like, oh, fuck, like Miz cost him. Like he could have won this, and now Miz screwed him, and then they can go off and have their match. But I feel like because we didn't get it with Javon, you have to do it on Friday. Because otherwise, what are you going to get? You're going to get Gunther against Bronson Reed.
Which I don't mind.
Gunther, no, but I mean, they had a match, I think, when did they have a match? Last year,
it was on Raw, yeah.
But Bronson Reed's a heel now. Gunther's still a heel. It works better if you do Gunther and Carmelo Hayes, and that could be a really good match.
Cornell Bryan in the chat says the Jey Uso hate is getting out of control. It's not that anybody hates Jey Uso. It's the fact that he is overexposed on television is what we don't like. Nobody has anything against Jey Uso personally. We just don't want to see him in a main event segment anymore for the World Championship, or in this case, final match against John Cena. He's been
Cornell, this is
everywhere.
This is a John Cena tournament. This is what you have to understand. This is a tournament to decide John Cena's final opponent. Nobody wants to see Jey Uso as John Cena's final opponent.
No. It's basically all that needs to be said there.
Nobody wants to see that. And nobody, I think, honestly believes it's going to happen. So I don't want to see a final wasted by having Jey Uso go in there and wrestle anybody, let alone Gunther in a match that we've already seen 5,000 times.
That doesn't mean we hate Jey Uso. So
yeah,
please don't.
but people throw that word around a little too much, I think, and even with some of the women, I think, when you make certain comments about like this person maybe, is good, this person isn't, like, oh, you're hating, right? Like if you make any sort of negative comment whatsoever about somebody or their ability or a match they had or whatever, why do you hate them so much, right?
Yeah.
They throw that word hate like they throw around the word buried. Like, oh, this person lost one match and they're buried. Like, there's a lot of words I'm finding that people seemingly don't really know what they mean.
Yeah.
And they throw them around a little too easily without truly understanding what they mean.
Yeah. Yeah, I got that last night when I said the women's War Games match doesn't need to be a War Games match. There's nothing that warrants the cage being there. And I got a couple comments on my review last night. Oh, JD doesn't like the women. Because I don't want to see a War Games match be overexposed. I don't know how you make one correlation to the other. I don't really get it. It's like you can't say anything. And yes, people do throw words around a little too loosely. But yeah, now nobody wants to see Jey Uso and John Cena. I don't want to see that ever. So Alexa Bliss, we talked about that. Charlotte came out to back up her team for War Games. And we already went over that. Charlotte and the babyfaces stood tall over Nia Jax, Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Lash Legend. Lash Legend throwing that elbow around a little too forcefully, Jason. Yeah, is that going to be her finishing move when we see her in the ring? That big roaring elbow?
I think it's great. No, I think it's great. When she did it to Io last week, Io took this great bump where she like flew backwards and just sold the shit out of it. So no, if I'm her, I'm adopting that. Remember Crush used to have the heart punch?
Yeah.
Lash can have the forearm blast. Yeah. There you go. That could be your finish.
Becky Lynch, Maxine Dupree, Women's Championship on the line, or Intercontinental Championship on the line, rather. Becky coming in defending. This is, I believe, what is this, their fourth match together? Or is it three?
No, this is three.
Three, okay.
Because Maxine won by countout. She won by DQ. So this was number 3.
I could have swore they wrestled before all that, but yeah, you may be right. 3. Yes, this was a culmination of what we've gotten over the last several weeks. Maxine wanted this match, but at certain points over the last couple of weeks, she told Adam Pearce she wasn't ready and she needed to go seek guidance from a very good friend of hers. Now, there was only 2 people on the list of friends there. It was either Natty, who a lot of people kind of realized it wasn't going to be, or AJ Lee, who has had a little brief history with Becky Lynch.
Well, what did I tell you when I saw you on Saturday?
You said that AJ Lee is in New York on Long Island at the big event. And if she's going to be in New York, she may show up in Madison Square Garden.
I said, yeah, I think all she has to do is stay over for a couple nights.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that it would be her showing up on Raw Monday night because we haven't seen her since September. It's like, what are they waiting for?
Yeah.
Well, now we know because there were a couple spots open in War Games, and it just seemed pretty obvious that this was the direction that we were headed in. But yeah, this was Maxine's big opportunity, and her parents were there, and they were really building it up, right? Madison Square Garden. Becky was in her face, like during the ring intros, as Maxine is not even looking at her. She's just looking straight ahead, and Becky's like all up in her face, trying to get up in her grill and everything. And Maxine was just laser focused, like she was going into a big fight. And then they had the first half of the match, which I thought was very dull. And then it picked up a little bit after that. You know, there was a transition at one point where Maxine was able to transition into an ankle lock, and she got the grapevine, and then the fans kind of came alive because they thought maybe she might actually have it, and Becky reversed out of it. So it was starting to get, it was kind of kicking up into that next gear. And then came the back and forth with her and the referee, because I'm still wondering at some point if we're going to get a match between her and Jessica Carr, who is a wrestler. So, I mean, they could do that match at some point, like on TV if they wanted to. But it led to Becky trying to take off the top turnbuckle pad, and then we hear AJ's music. And she comes skipping out, and everybody in the garden is happy to see her, obviously, and Becky's distracted. And she turns around, and then there's Maxine flying through the air with this giant crossbody, and she takes her down, and she gets the flash pin. And just like that, we have a new women's intercontinental champion. And of all the people, if I would have told you 6 months ago that the person to beat Becky Lynch for this belt was going to be Maxine Dupree, what would your reaction have been?
I would have not believed a single word out of your mouth.
Well, here we are.
Here we are.
And Maxine Dupree, who has been putting the work in. I see the photos on social media of her training on her off days at the dungeon with Natty and TJ and everything. And I mean, look, if you look at a match of hers now as compared to a year ago,
oh yeah,
you could see I'm not saying that she's as good as Stephanie or Julie or any of these other people, but from where she was to where she is now, for her, it was trial by fire. She's someone who would have benefited by staying in NXT. And they called her up very quickly. And it was one thing if they called her up to be like a valet or something, a manager. They had her wrestle. And I just remember thinking at the time, I'm like, she's not that good. Why are you doing this to her? Why didn't you keep her in NXT longer? And then remember that house show where some fan made a nasty comment towards her.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, it became this whole big controversy on social media and people feeling sorry for her. So from that to where she is now is very cool. And ideally, this championship would be used to help elevate people like her to that next level. Because Becky put a lot of work over this run into making that championship feel like it actually was almost of equal value to the world title, which is the opposite of what we've seen on Friday.
I actually think the IC title has been more valuable than the Women's World Championship, honestly.
Well, I wouldn't be wrong in saying that because Becky had a certain star power coming into this, and then she went out there and had those great matches with Lyra and Bayley, right? She put together all these great matches that helped elevate.
Except for the match at SummerSlam.
Right. That was the one blemish.
That was awful.
That was not a good match. But for the most part, she had this great run as the champion and helped elevate that title. Now, whether or not she's going to be the Intercontinental Champion for very long, honestly, I mean, me personally, I think Becky's going to win it back in short order. And then they'll move on to something with Becky and AJ. Becky and AJ doesn't have to be for the belt. I tend to think it will be. But the crazy thing about Maxine, when you really think about it, like, dude, this woman has had 50 matches total, counting last night, in her career. This was her first singles pinfall win since 2023.
Wow.
She beat Valhalla in a match on Raw.
Who?
Yeah. Doesn't even work there anymore. And in her second time ever pinning somebody in a match, in a singles match, she wins the championship.
Yeah, this was good. I actually don't mind this decision. I don't think this was the strongest match of the three. They seemingly never topped that first match with the countdown. I thought that was the best match of the three. Mm-hmm. Becky did such a good job with this championship that I'm okay with Becky dropping the title to Maxine here to put over Maxine. And like you said, move on to AJ. War Games first, and then a one-on-one match with AJ without the championship on the line. I think AJ and Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental Championship, though it would have been a star-studded match, big stakes on the line, I don't think it needs it because of just their name values alone. I think where we go with this, and I'm curious to see what you think about this because I mentioned this on my end last night. I don't think Maxine and the IC title are going to be long for this world. I think it's going to be very short reign. When, where, I don't know. Take your guess. But I do think that eventually a Judgment Day is going to come to Maxine. And I think Roxanne Perez is going to win the Intercontinental title, which will then usher in Liv Morgan to come back. Mm-hmm. And Liv Morgan versus Roxanne, whether it happens before WrestleMania or at WrestleMania with the Intercontinental title on the line, I think you're looking at Roxanne and Liv for the IC title. I think Liv Morgan wins the Intercontinental Championship. If it happens at WrestleMania, it makes sense for it to happen at WrestleMania. If it happens before WrestleMania, I could see Liv and Dominic split away from the Judgment Day. They play that story out. They both walk into WrestleMania as the Intercontinental Champions against Finn Balor and Roxanne Perez in a mixed tag team match. But I do think that we're headed towards Roxanne and Liv with that championship on the line. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's a WrestleMania match.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they were kind of going down that road or teasing it at the beginning before Liv got hurt. And they could just pick up with it when she comes back. And because Liv is assuming she's back in the Rumble or by the Rumble.
Yeah.
One of the favorites to win the Women's Rumble. I'm not ready to say that I think she's going to win it, but she's definitely like probably top 2 favorites right now, if I had to say. So she could win, but more than likely, I could see her and Roxanne having an issue that they carry into WrestleMania. So if I'm them, I'm doing that at Mania. I'm not doing it before Mania.
Yeah, Roxanne could aid in Liv being eliminated. She could already be the champion walking into the Rumble, set up the WrestleMania match. Maybe they're both in the chamber. I don't know. So there's a couple of ways to go about it, but I do think that Maxine is going to be a very short reign as Intercontinental Champion. But AJ Lee, you know, she's back now. There was a backstage segment with her and Jackie Redmond. And Jackie asks her if she's going to stick around now that she's back. And she says she hopes so and that she returned with this fire lit. She's back and she wants to get back out there. And then Rhea Ripley comes out interrupts the segment and looks at AJ and says, "Do you have a moment to talk?" And then they walk away arm in arm. So like you said last week, Jason, and I kind of figured that's where they were going to go. I was hoping that, it wasn't so blatantly obvious to put both of them in the War Games match, but it looks like Rhea is going to enlist AJ Lee. And then obviously with that interaction that we saw with Becky and Asuka a couple weeks ago, Asuka may enlist Becky Lynch, or Becky may just throw herself into the fucking pot without Asuka even asking because of what AJ did last night. And we're going to get those 5-on-5 teams complete.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that they were always the two likeliest fifth additions to that match. You have effectively Team AJ and Team Becky.
Yeah.
Especially when we saw Becky have that little confrontation with Asuka, in the aisle a few weeks ago. I think that was a tell. So this was, to me, the predictable way to go with it. It makes sense. AJ's never been in a War Games before, but clearly Becky is going to have a bone to pick with her after, blaming her for losing her championship here. It only makes sense. Now that we know they're doing Stephanie and Nikki in their own standalone match, not that I wanted Nikki Bella in War Games, but there was at least the possibility that maybe they would, have Stephanie on one side, Nikki on the other. Now we know that's not going to be the case. There really isn't anybody else that makes sense other than AJ and Becky in those spots.
Yep. So it looks like hopefully as far as the women's team, it will be completed come Monday. So hopefully we won't have to wait too long for that. John Evans and Gunther, round one of the Last Time Is Now tournament. This was the one thing on the entire show I was looking forward to most. Gunther is back with his old NXT UK theme. It was great to see. Some people were telling me that it's a Def Rebel version, which I'm assuming is the case. It's not the original version. But I don't care. As long as it's resembling what we heard back in NXT, I am okay with it. It just fits him. It gives him the illusion that he is truly the final boss. It just kind of has this aura about it where it's like, oh, man, this guy's coming out to this music. He's a fucking beast, and he's legit. So I'm glad to see that. As far as the match, Jason, I thought it went 15 minutes. I unfortunately did not watch it with the cool kids on VPN, so I had to sit through 6 minutes of commercial.
Oh man, you missed the best part of the match.
I know.
During the second commercial break,
we didn't even get the chop because I heard it, but we didn't see it.
Yeah, during the second commercial break, he gave Javon a chop. I mean, dude, like it ricocheted through the entire building. It legitimately sounded like a shotgun blast went off.
So you're telling me that he caved Javon Evans' chest in and now it looks like Kofi Kingston's chest.
He gave him Kofi chest, yes. He chopped the soul out of this guy. And that happened during one of the commercial breaks of all things. But yeah, this was what I was hoping to get out of this tournament. More matches like this. We didn't get enough of this type of match in this tournament. It's been very sterile. It's been very like, whatever. So I at least was hoping out of this to get something that would be a showcase for Javon, but would also, it would be a challenge for Gunther. I didn't want Gunther to just go in there and wreck the guy, even though this was Gunther's first match since SummerSlam. But it was a competitive match. And no matter what they put Javon in, we've seen Javon on SmackDown a few times. Like, he knocks it out of the park every single time. This is what I mean when I say, like, you could tell they know what they have now. If they didn't before, they know now what they have in him. They should have known after the match with Leon Slater at Bound for Glory.
Yeah.
But like even Sheamus just worked a match with him on one of the NXT house shows. And he had nothing but praise for him after. He goes, man, this kid's the real deal. He's even putting on a little bit of muscle now. So he's starting to get a little bit bigger and he's going to be a big deal. So you just got the stamp of approval from someone like Sheamus, who has been there for a very long time and goes in there and knows how to have banger matches. That says a lot. So he went in there and they had a very good match and Gunther put him down. No surprise there, but he will live to fight another day. And every single time he goes out there and has another match like this, it just elevates his stock that much more.
Yeah, I may have a little bit of a hot take here, depending on who is listening to us. Not that I did not like the match. I thought the match was the best thing on the show last night. I feel like it was missing something. Now, you can chime in and tell me if I'm kind of off base here. I felt like the match, though good, I felt like it was missing at least one or two of those great near falls that we know Gunther has or that Javon Evans can deliver. I felt like his match with Sami Zayn delivered what we needed in this match, and we didn't get it last night. I don't know if you felt that same way, though the match was good. I just felt like they never really pushed it to the heights of which we know it could go, and the type of match that Evans as a babyface can deliver against someone the size and the caliber of opponent as a Gunther. Do you feel like the match missed anything, or maybe they intentionally held back because I believe sooner rather than later we're going to see these two in the ring for something a little bit more prestigious?
No, you got to remember that. I mean, this was an opening round match, so it's another reason why I wanted this in the finals. In the finals, they would have had even more time. And I think in the finals, you would have seen that. There would have been at least like that one, if not a couple of like really, truly super dramatic near falls.
Yeah.
They would have had more time to really build the matchup. I mean, they had some time last night, but not what they would have had if they would have had it in the next round or the final round. So that's why I wanted it at Survivor Series in the finals. Then you could have had this big epic between them. Last night was not the epic that like I know they could have. So I wasn't expecting it to be on that level. I pretty much got what I was expecting out of it last night. And that's really all that it needed to be. So could they have had another big near fall in there? Sure. We did get one. I think maybe he had a frog splash. I forgot exactly what it was. So we got that. That one spot was in there. But you can't expect them to go balls out and give you what you just described if it's in the opening round of the tournament. That's why you save that for the later rounds.
Yeah, I know John Cena put on, he actually, Brian Alvarez spoke about John Cena, who was reportedly high on Javon Evans. He put high praise on Javon Evans. Alvarez went on to say that Cena thinks very highly of him. Sheamus, you mentioned before, had a match with him, a house show. Sheamus was raving about him. I think they finally figured out, says Alvarez, as usual, that they're the last people on earth to figure this shit out, but I think they finally figured out that they have something special in Javon Evans. And so hopefully he gets called up sooner rather than later. This bullshit about being too young is in fact bullshit, especially when you think about the history of Madison Square Garden and some of the biggest stars in the history of this business. They were big fucking stars in their 20s. They weren't 40 when they first got that title. Is it too soon? Now, at one point,
Title?
I don't know what he meant. I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean that's a little ridiculous if he's talking about calling him up, putting the championship on him, because you could point to a lot of guys in the history of this company who were in their mid-30s when they first really hit it big and won the championship, and Javon's 21. So I agree with him in this respect. They, especially on Fridays, this is a period of time where they need more people like that on the main roster.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of older faces. There are a lot of older people. Some of them are out hurt right now. And they definitely need more people like Javon Evans and he has stepped up. They need to step up and get him up there soon so that he can become a big part of those weekly shows on Mondays and or Fridays, because they don't have a whole lot of people like Javon Evans on TV, and he's exciting and he's fun to watch. And that's what these shows are missing. We need more of that excitement. That's what we need more of. So I agree with him on that.
Yeah, I was going to add to that. I feel like a lot of people look at someone like Javon Evans and immediately think, well, he hasn't won the big one on NXT yet. Let's get him an NXT title reign and let's be patient with this. I think this is someone that we bypass that whole narrative over, put him on the main roster, and bring him up now. I don't even wait to put the NXT championship on him. I honestly think with what we've seen with him last night and the match with Sammy, and I know he's teamed with Phoenix, I think we've seen more than enough to realize that he's ready for the main roster, honestly. I don't think the main roster is ready for him, to be quite honest with you. I think it's the other way around.
He would be another one, like you mentioned Stephanie before, where he would probably have to slow his shit down a little bit just for everybody else to keep up with him. But there's still guys on that roster, though, whether it's even like an AJ Styles. Can you imagine an AJ Styles, Javon Evans?
No. Oh, yes, I could. I would love to see it, yeah. Sure,
but like even if he's in there with like him and JD McDonough having a television match, you let those two guys go out there and do what they do. You know, like that's what I'm talking about. Like that's what these shows are missing. And it kind of brings me back to the days of Nitro, honestly, because the most exciting part of those Nitro shows outside of seeing all the big names was the Cruiserweight division. It was something that at that time, now it's kind of like commonplace where we see matches like that all the time. But like back then, you didn't see shit like that on the weekly shows. And they would always open the show with it. So you would have these guys go out there and do all these amazing moves that nobody else was doing in the first 10, 12 minutes of the show. And it really got things off to a hot start. And it was like, man, this is the show to watch, right? Because this is fun and this is unlike anything that we're seeing. Element to the show that is just really lacking, frankly, and missing right now to inject some life into it. And I don't just mean, because he bounces around and does a bunch of high spots. Like, if you watch a Javon Evans promo, right, he's got this really positive, fun charisma to him. So it's the whole thing. It's not just the moves that he does. I just think he would bring something to these shows that is sorely lacking right now.
Yeah, because he's allowed to be himself. He speaks like himself, like he would be speaking to his friends. He doesn't speak like some fucking individual handed the script to, you know?
Yeah, he's likable. So, of course, we say that. They'll call him up, and then they'll turn him heel the next week, and he'll cut a You People promo, and that'll be the end of that. But yeah, so I agree. I mean, the sooner they can get him up, the better off it'll be, just because these shows could really use something like that right now.
Oh, man, we're going to round out this Monday Night Raw discussion, and we're going to get to some AEW talk about the Ariel Helwani, Tony Khan situation, some blood and guts, and some full gear, and then we'll get to your super chats. The main event segment was a segment. It was a build for War Games. It was supposed to be a Vision and Team Punk face-off, but Heyman introduced everybody. Punk came out looking to fight. He came out with Cody, and then one thing led to another. And we got
did you see the fist bump that Cody went for with Punk?
It almost looked like he didn't see it.
He didn't see it. Cody is just standing there, and Punk is just looking straight ahead, and Cody's like, "All right, I'll bump you myself."
Yeah,
I'm like, oh man,
yeah, I did see that. But yeah, this eventually led to a big Pier 6 brawl at the close of the show. We got the trademark logo to show up again. That's Triple H's signature. And then all of a sudden, Punk is in the ring, and then you hear that Lesnar music go off, and Punk's attention turned to the aisleway. He could not believe what he heard and could not believe what he seen. Lesnar came down. He's back. He's a part of the Team War Games, Team Vision for War Games, and Lesnar got in there. He threw Punk around. He threw Cody around. He was basically the unstoppable monster that we know he is. And then to save the day is the return of Roman Reigns. This is like his 12th return this year. He came back, and he is team member number 5 on Team Punk. And he went face-to-face with Brock Lesnar, and there was a big brawl. Roman Reigns speared. Who did he spear through the barricade? Was it
Bronson Reed?
Bronson Reed. He took out one of the quote-unquote NYPD officers as well.
He took out one of the NPYD officers. That wasn't NYPD. It looked like NPYD maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
Rent-a-cop costumes. How different would this show be if Rollins didn't get hurt, right? Remember the original report? It was going to be Lesnar and Austin Theory on the heel side. So I think potentially that injury really screwed over Austin Theory.
Yeah.
Because Meltzer was right about Lash Legend. He was right about Cena against Dom at Survivor Series. So very likely that at one time, Theory was factored into this as maybe the newest member of the Vision. So we could potentially be looking at a situation where Theory is in the Vision, Brock is on the team, but Drew isn't, which means Cody probably isn't, which means we get Cody and Drew maybe at Survivor Series for the title.
And then Cena on Team Punk?
Maybe. No, Cena probably is working with Dom, although maybe they could have put Cena in there. Maybe LA Knight gets that spot.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, it's a very different show if Seth doesn't get hurt.
It's amazing how to think about what would be the situation now. Do you think Theory eventually joins? I know a lot of people want this to happen. Do you eventually see more additions to the Vision after War Games is over?
I think you need it if you want to have. I mean, right now they're just a tag team. So if you want it to be an actual group, I think they add one more person.
Yeah,
maybe it's Theory, maybe it's somebody else. But yeah, I think you got to add somebody else.
Yeah, I thought this was a very good way to close the show and open up the whole 5-on-5 angle here with Team Punk and Team Vision. I enjoyed this. I love the makeup of this. We talked about this earlier, so we won't spend too much time on this. The makeup of these teams, the 10 guys, the history between all 10 of these guys, and the tensions between the baby faces, not just with Roman and his cousins, but Roman Punk coming out of WrestleMania, Roman Cody. Are we eventually going to get that match number 3? He wants the world championship back.
Nah. Why?
No?
Why?
I don't know.
We don't need it.
Yeah, sure, we don't need it. You don't think WWE wants to do it?
What you did at WrestleMania 40, dude. You can't do it. And he's got other business to tend to as far as we got to get that first Roman and Braun match.
Yeah.
That could be a WrestleMania match right there.
Yeah.
Roman and Cody again, who does that serve? What are you going to do? You're going to put the belt back on Roman?
No, you don't put
you 1,300 days.
No. He's making less appearances now than ever. So no.
Right. Right. So there's no point in even doing that match. Like, you peaked with Philadelphia. I think you had 2 WrestleMania main events out of it. They tagged together a Bad Blood. Like, now they're going to be in War Games together. That's enough.
Well, I thought this was a very good way to end the show, and they got me excited about War Games. I know War Games in the build has been kind of lackluster, and it feels just very last minute. They waited till maybe 3 weeks before the show to get everything together. The women's War Games kind of feels kind of, it's not really all that exciting. There's no real tension there outside Rhea and the Kabuki Warriors with Io. So I love what they're doing with this. I'm excited to see this, and this may be the only thing I'm really genuinely excited about, depending on if we get Gunther versus Sheamus or Penta at Survivor Series in the finals of the tournament. So this is great, and I'm looking forward to this. So Monday Night Raw was night and day over SmackDown, and a huge success for Madison Square Garden. More of that, please. I would love to see these shows feel larger than life on most weeks, but last week... coming into this week, we knew exactly what we were going to get, and last night it was just an anomaly. You can't ask for it every week, but this is what we need. AEW. Let's shift gears over to Blood and Guts. I watched. You watched. We enjoyed, for the most part, Blood and Guts. It wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. We'll start with the ladies. I enjoyed the ladies' match more than the men's. I know you did as well, because I listened to what you had to say on Wednesday. I thought it was the better match of the two. I knew the women were going to go out there and just kind of make a statement. I think they made a statement a little too early in the match with Sky Blue legitimately bleeding buckets within the first 6 minutes. I even tweeted out, I'm like, can we wait for the festivities, please? Why are we going to go to the bar and immediately down 4 shots of alcohol and get drunk before the night even starts? That's the way I kind of described it. What did you think about the immediate blood gushing in the match, Jason? Did you find it to be kind of not really a takeaway, but kind of silly that the match hasn't even begun yet? I mean, there's 12 women in this thing, and you already got her bleeding in the first 6 minutes of this match, and the match is not even officially started yet.
I just found it silly how it happened. I mean, it was just she got thrown into the cage,
which is the weapon, by the way,
and not particularly hard.
No,
so it's not like she took a cheese grater to the head or something like that. I just thought that the output didn't really equal, the input. The output didn't really correlate to like what was actually done to her. I thought that was a bit much.
Yeah.
And also I'm looking at this going, man, this is dangerous because she was bleeding a lot, and this match is going 30 or 40 minutes. So she's going to be in there the entire time pouring blood, and that could end up being a dangerous situation, if you're out there just bleeding like a freaking sieve for that long. So yeah, I think that was a bit much for the first 3.5 minutes of the match, but that set the tone. And this is the thing about these Blood and Guts matches where people complain about too much this, too much that. There's definitely excess in on the men's side and the women's side. There's definitely excess in these matches, but you know what you're getting when you go into it.
Yes, I don't think that's the problem. I think everybody expects. No? I think everybody truly expects what you're going to get out of this. I think,
but they still complain about it. But they still bitch about, how come there's so much blood and gore and shit? It's like, well, dude, this is what they do. They take it to the max every single time, and if one person's going to bleed, they all want to bleed. And I believe the story that was, I think maybe it was Alvarez who said that John Moxley was making gigs for all of the women in the women's match. I could just picture him in the back, like one by one, putting the blades together and handing them out like Halloween candy. And everyone got one. Because I think basically everybody in the match except maybe Mercedes, I think. And good for her, because I'm trying to think now in all the matches that I've ever seen her in, has she ever bled?
That's a very difficult question. I'm going to say maybe once, but it's out of 10 years, no. We haven't seen Mercedes bleed.
Good for her. Good for her. The one smart one in there, because if that were me, I'd be in the same boat. But everybody else basically did. So this is what Blood and Guts is. They take it to the max. We have the weapons. So you got the kendo sticks and you got the broken glass. And I'm not a fan of that stuff. And I'm not like the broken glass all over the freaking mat, and the tacks are mixed in with the glass. And yeah, they were doing exactly what you would expect in a match like this. And some of the bumps they took, to me, the real standouts in the match, I mean, obviously Sky Blue, just for bleeding so much, was standing out. But for me, the standouts were Megan Bayne and Marina Shafir.
Agreed, yeah.
I thought those were, and funny enough, they're tag team partners in this tournament.
Yeah.
But those were the two standouts. And Megan Bayne also just has this really whacked out, crazy schedule right now because she's working a tag team tournament in Japan for one of the promotions there. And she's been going back and forth over the last like 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think Janela put something on Twitter saying that she left Blood and Guts to go to the airport to fly to Japan. So, I mean, that's a fucking crazy woman right there.
And she had just come back from there a few days before. So she's still in this tournament. And so she's in 2 tournaments at the same time, by the way. And so she went back to Japan. I don't know if supposedly she was going to be back for a Full Gear weekend and then go right back to Japan for the end of the tournament at the end of the month.
Crazy.
So that's crazy jet lag there. And you come back from Japan and the first thing you do is you just get thrown into a Blood and Guts match. And she had tack sticking in her back and all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, I think that my personal tastes, they go overboard with it in a way that doesn't really appeal to me, but it appeals to their audience. This is what they love. You know, they're bloodthirsty. They love this type of shit. Tony knows that. And so he gives it to them. And that's the one thing you got to say about these matches. He knows his audience.
Yes.
He knows what they are looking for and expecting.
Yeah.
And he does not want to underwhelm them. So he will overwhelm them. And my senses were, there was definite sensory overload in these 2 matches.
Well, that's the problem. I did enjoy the entire show. I just the criticism that I have, and people, you know, they just take me out of context on the regular. Me and Jesse praised the show on Wednesday for it being probably the best Dynamite out of the last several weeks that we got. I have not been pleased with the direction of the company going from Wrestle Dream into Full Gear. I feel like, and we correlated this and kind of compared this to Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker. If you remember that hardcore match that they had at Daly's Place, which kind of set the quote-unquote revolution of women's wrestling in AEW for the path
Baker's
forward. Yeah,
most famous match.
Yes. You know, they went out there, and I don't know what the makings of that discussion were going into that match, but they went out there with a point to prove. And I think the women's division there was, you know, it's not as it is now. It's a lot more featured now. It was a lot more difficult to really take them seriously, and they were trying to get that division off the ground. So they went out there and made a statement. So it was warranted, and I think a lot of people took the division to be serious after that match. And that match still lives on through the annals of AEW history, and people still talk about that match today. I felt like that was genuine, that was organic, and that was right for the time. And you look at this Blood and Guts match on Wednesday, not that I didn't enjoy it, because I thought it was the better of the two. I just felt like the overabundance of violence and blood that we got almost immediately felt very forced, and they couldn't wait to go in there and bleed. I would have much rather them just wait and kind of build up to it, and then we see it happen instead of just giving it to us in the first 5 minutes. So that was criticism number 1. My criticism number 2 goes in line with what you said. Granted, we all know what Tony Khan and the talent is going to do in this type of environment. I have no problem with that, and I think everybody expects there to be that level of intensity and violence in these matches. The thing is, and this is just me speaking from my personal feeling, watching this show over 6 years every single Wednesday and covering it every single Wednesday. I am immune. It's almost immune. I'm immune to this type of thing. There's no desire to see any more of this because we literally see it at least a couple times a month. And when they're on pay-per-view, it's even worse than what we see on television for the Dynamite segments that we get that are hardcore, and there's blood and there's tacks and there's glass and there's this and there's that. There's just way too much of the same thing. And then when we get something like this, Jason, I don't know if you look at it the same way that I do. Granted, we get Blood and Guts and we are to expect that, but like, what are they doing differently on any normal week? It's just 2 rings, a big cage, and fucking 12 women beating the shit out of each other. And the men, there's 10 guys beating the shit out of each other with the same type of violence that we usually see on a pay-per-view or random Dynamite that they want to get bloody and hardcore in. So that's the point I'm trying to make. It's like, how am I supposed to look at this as like, oh man, this is fucking great, and look at all this chaos. Meanwhile, we get it every single week, but if they did less of it and they waited for moments like this for it to happen, it would feel a little bit more special. That was the point I'm trying to make, and clearly people took me out of context as JD hates everything AEW, and he's got all this negativity about AEW, but guys, you're not listening to me. I want to see less. So when they do something like this, it feels a little bit more special. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I mean, it was another Wednesday. in AEW.
You got your count. You got your countdown, by the way.
Yeah, I see. So we get it with great frequency to where you almost get numb to it.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. But again, I coming into this show, I knew exactly what to expect. I didn't expect that much blood that early in the match, but I felt the same way where I feel like the women probably all got together before the match and said, hey, this is our first ever blood and guts match. We took us this long to get one. We have a point to prove. We have a chip on our shoulder. Let's go out there and show them that we should have been, in consideration for this kind of stuff all along and that we should get another one next year. And so they went out there and they did all the stuff that you would expect to see in the men's match. They did the same thing in this match. And the thing about the two matches for me, for whatever critiques about the body of the match that I might have in as far as the men's and the women's, I like the finishes of both matches. I thought the finishes were actually very well done. On the women's side, you had the three members of the Triangle of Madness holding Toni Storm down. Her best friend, her tag team partner in the tournament, right, Mina Shirakawa, she is out cold in this hole that Marina Shafir, this is after Marina Shafir, by the way, who was in bare feet, intentionally stomped on the broken glass.
That was great.
And then stomped on Mina. And then that led into the finish. She got her in a submission. She was basically out, but she was, kind of down on her stomach on top of Marina. So her back was exposed so that Megan Bayne could take one of the many championships that Mercedes passed out to all of her teammates.
Man, she was whipping the shit out of her, wasn't she? With that time? Oh my god,
she wasn't holding back. And that's one of my critiques. Sometimes I'll watch these matches, and maybe this is more of an issue in WWE with some of the women, but they throw these shots that look very weak. Well, that was not an issue here because Megan Bayne was whipping the shit out of this woman who was laying there unconscious, basically, and whipping her with this belt until Toni Storm could just take no more, and then she surrendered. So the heels ended up winning, but it made total sense because if you look at the brackets of the women's tag team title tournament, it's pretty clear we're going to get Toni and Mina in the next round against Megan Bayne and Marina Shafir.
Yeah.
So at least it was building to what is likely going to be the match in the semifinals of the tournament. That was the story they told. It gave the heels the win, which is what I said last week. I had the heels winning in the women's match, the baby faces winning in the men's match. So it played out, finish-wise, the way I expected, and I thought the finish was very well done. I saw some people hated it. They thought it made Toni look weak.
No.
She was being held down by three people.
No, I thought the same thing. It plays perfectly into the women's tag team tournament. That was actually one of the better parts of the match. The other thing that I really found critique in was the fact that, and I know this was one of your wrestling tropes, everybody comes in with their own weapon. Sky Blue comes in with a spiked baseball bat, and Willow comes in with a trash can lid with a smiley face on it. Chris Statlander came out with a pool cue. Harley Cameron,
the barbed wire bat.
Yeah, Mina came out with that, and then Harley Cameron came out with the puppet, and then the brass knuckles underneath the puppet. I'm like, does everybody need their own fucking weapon? I mean, it just goes back to what I said last week. The cage is the fucking weapon. You don't need the weapon. Sky Blue had all these weapons in there. She got busted open by getting thrown into the fucking cage. So what's the point of the weapon? The other part that I didn't like is that Julia and Tekla found their way outside the cage by slipping in through one of those beams that were in the cage. And I'm like, all right, that's fucking cool. I mean, they're small ladies, and they found their way on the outside, which, a cage like this, a match like this is supposed to keep everything contained within. And they found their way outside of it. Now, I don't know if these companies need to hire more referees or get more competent fucking people on the outside with wherewithal to keep the door locked. I don't understand what was going on out there. All Mercedes Jason had to do was say, open the door. Let me go get one of my myriad of titles and bring them in for everybody to use as weapons. Meanwhile, Julia and Tekla are finding creative ways to get outside the fucking cage. It's like, what is the point of the cage if everyone's going to be on the outside? Marina and Chris Statlander with the bed of railroad spikes on the outside. So what the fuck is going on here? Where is everybody in the ring, and why is everybody on the outside?
Well, I mean, as bad as it was, it got worse in the men's match.
Yes.
So on the men's side, it was to the point of absurdity where people were just freely coming in and out of the cage, and it was like, why even have a cage at that point?
Bro, fucking Briscoe and Yuta found themselves on the top of the cage to do nothing up there but have a fucking chair battle. Like, why
Well,
go
yeah.
up there if you're not going to do give me a payoff? Like, don't go up there and do that. You could do that in the ring.
Well, I'm glad nobody did anything crazy off the top of the cage and they just climbed down. The big spot was him giving Yuta the J driller on top of the cage. But it wasn't just those guys. Like, other people were coming in and out. Moxley at one point, he got in, he went right back out to go look for more weapons, and then he went back in. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, they do one thing with this that I like that WWE doesn't do. Because WWE doesn't have a top on their cage because they want people to be able to go to the top and do fucking moves. Like, we'll see EO wearing the trash can again in a couple of weeks. So they have a top on their cage like old school War Games is supposed to be. And so you would think, well, okay, they have a top on their cage and they're going to keep the action in the cage. But they're even worse than WWE with the War Games, the way they just let people go in and out. It's like, why even have a cage? It was happening so much. I started laughing like during the men's match. Like, this is just ridiculous. So that was my biggest critique, probably, as far as like across both of them. They just did too much of that. If you're building to a really big spot where the referee, like somebody gets hurt, quote unquote, and the referee opens the door to go in to check, like, oh, there's an opening and somebody gets out, and you're going to do a big spot outside. Like in the main event, the big spot, what was it? It was Pac and it was Darby, who ended up on top of the entrance tunnel.
Yeah, because Gabe Kidd showed up there with a taser, and then one thing led to another. Yeah.
One thing led to another, and he had lighter fluid, and he sprayed it on 2 tables.
What'd I tell you last week? I told you somebody was going to get set on fire.
And of course, it was Darby. So he gorilla presses Darby up. He's standing on top of the tunnel, and he dumps him. And he goes through the tables, and he's like in this big fireball. And you could literally, you could see the fire on his back. Like, it took several seconds for the fire to
and he conveniently
itself.
rolled to somewhere where they had some wet towels or something over there for him.
Well, thank God they did, because he was still on fire. But that was the big spot. If people escaped the cage late in the match to set that up, that's fine. But it was happening so often. It was like, I'm just laughing watching this. And then you talk about people bleeding. I mean, you look at Sky Blue in the first match.
Kyle
in
O'Reilly.
This match, well, in this match here, you look at Kyle O'Reilly.
Yeah.
Who is just bleeding like crazy. And I mean, everybody was really. But the thing with the matches, I like both finishes. The first half, I would say, of the men's match bored me.
Yes.
I was bored watching this.
Agreed.
And it got better towards the end. Actually, I thought the finish was great in the men's match, the way they set that up. But I just felt like I'm watching the first half of this match, and Yuta's doing his thing, and Garcia, and they're going back and forth, and I'm like, I'm bored. So that was the thing about that match I didn't really care for. But the finish, the way they set it up with Kyle, was great, because Kyle and Moxley had a couple of matches on TV where Moxley was just desperately and frantically trying to do whatever he could not to get trapped in a submission because he didn't want to tap out. And I've been saying, like, the only way this works is if the babyfaces win. Moxley has to be the one to surrender. And that's exactly what they did. I didn't know it was going to be Kyle, though, who was going to tap him out. So I thought the way they did that was perfect. And then there's the biggest win of Kyle O'Reilly's career since he came over to this company. And the fans are, celebrating. Everyone's celebrating. So, again, I thought the finish was great. There was some stuff they did with the weapons that I didn't really care for. I think the thing that bugged me, what happened to Darby? Before one of the commercials, there was a spot, something happened to Darby. He took this ridiculous bump. As soon as they came back from the commercial, Darby, like, everyone's bunched up in a pile, and Darby is hanging upside down from the roof of the cage.
Yeah.
And he let go and he coffin dropped everybody. And I'm like, okay, so the spot that we just saw before the commercial, I guess that didn't mean anything.
He must have got put through a table or something.
No, it was something even worse than that, I feel like. Like, it was just so ridiculous that the first thing we saw when they came back, and it was like what we just saw didn't even happen, didn't even matter. So that kind of bugged me. But yeah, that's what you see in these matches. It's one just ridiculous spot after another, and there's not a lot of room, I guess, for selling in these matches. Everyone feels the need to get their shit in, and that's what ends up happening.
Yeah, I think it was painfully obvious that, like, I felt the same way as you. The first half of that men's match was very boring until the end. I just felt like it was painfully obvious that that match itself lacks star power, especially on the men's side. Like the women, we can kind of let it go because it's the first ever and they're just going to do what they got to do there. Mercedes was in there, Stat was in there, Tony was in there. So they had their stars there. Outside Moxley and Darby, like I won't even say anybody else really. Just a sheer absence of like true top level stars in that match. And I think that's what kind of really brought it down.
Yeah. It's the conglomeration.
Yeah.
You know, it's a mid-card group in the company. I mean, yeah, people like Mark Briscoe, but yeah, not a whole ton of star power certainly on the babyface side. We already know the Death Riders, you know what you're getting with the Death Riders. So yeah, there was star power that was missing from the match for sure. But the way they did the finish, I thought was well done. I thought that this was going to surely lead into TV this week where there would be some issue with Moxley and the other Death Riders. But I was watching part of Collision, which I'm sure you weren't, the other night, and I see that the opening match, in fact, was the Death Riders, and Moxley came out to do commentary, and he was just brushing off, all questions about blood and guts and saying, I want to stay positive and talk about, I want to preach positivity in this world. So I'm hoping that him kind of deflecting away from it, maybe that will lead to something, but on Saturday that there was no indication of anything.
Are you believing in that less and less now?
That he will end up being booted out of the Death Riders?
Yes.
No, I still think that has to be the ultimate destination here.
Okay. We'll see. I mean, yeah.
Dude, this was the third major loss for him since July. He lost the championship.
Yep.
He submitted to Darby, Wrestle Dream. He lost for his entire team in Blood and Guts. How does that not lead to something?
Things have to come to an end eventually. I wish Tony Khan would understand that. But
I don't even mean eventually like 6 months from now. I mean like eventually
like,
as in
like after Full Gear.
No later than World's End.
Yeah. For sure. So yeah, that was that. Powerhouse Hobbs, wrestled Adam Page. Adam Page wins, of course. This was a non-title match, last man standing, and we got the announcement that there will be a world championship match between Samoa Joe and Adam Page at Full Gear in a steel cage match. After we just got 2 steel cage matches, we have 2 more still to come in WWE, and we're getting one this coming weekend at Full Gear. Is it steel cage match overload, Jason? Do you feel like that was necessary for this match?
I mean, it's kind of a step down, don't you think? Coming from
Yes.
2 double ring cage matches to have a just traditional steel cage match.
Yes.
Where I guess the objective is to keep out the members of the Ops, which we all know how effective that is in steel cage matches in wrestling, keeping people out. So yeah, it's pretty silly.
Yeah, a little too much there, but who are we to say anything? Tony's going to book what Tony wants to book. But that was Dynamite. Good show on Wednesday. Hopefully they can keep that momentum going to Full Gear, which right now is looking, in my opinion, like a lackluster card. We'll get there. We'll end with that. But I want to go over some of the news and notes coming out of Tony Khan and Ariel Helwani on today's Ariel Helwani show. This was the first time in several years that Tony sat down with Ariel Helwani. First time was over Zoom. This time he was actually live in the New York studio. And apparently there has been a reconciliation of AEW, Tony Khan, and Ariel Helwani, especially after that unbelievably just blunt and straightforward interview with Ariel Helwani and CM Punk, which led to the all-in footage being shown, which has been a detriment for AEW ever since. They've now reconciled. And some of the things that have been said, I have the news and notes here. He talked about Darby, because Darby was a guest on Ariel Helwani's show. Darby... he for some reason threw water on himself during the Ariel Helwani interview, and Ariel Helwani asked, I don't know why he did that, and he was very confused as to why he did that.
Because he's nuts.
Yes, he is.
I mean, what you asked that question like you're confused. Why would he do it? Because he's fucking nuts.
He's nuts, yes.
That's why.
So he asked about the promotion's use of blood and high risk. Tony Khan praised Darby Allin, but offered his fall from the ladder through the glass plates during the glass plate during Sting's final match, which was fucking crazy. At Revolution last year, he said he went too far on that. He actually opted against that, but Darby wanted to do it. Other than that, TK said he'll use situations and say no, but he usually allows the performers to go and do what they want to do. when it serves the story, and he feels it always has been that way in AEW and Ring of Honor, to let the talent get their stories across however they want. So he goes over Full Gear. He says they got a big week of television. If you guys don't know, Dynamite and Collision tomorrow, 3-hour block. I don't know what you're doing, bro, but I'm watching 2 and I'm going live. I'm not watching Collision.
It depends what they have in that third hour.
Which is usually nothing.
Usually,
yes.
Yeah, usually. But if he was smart, you know what he would do.
Yes, I know he would.
Save Kenny Omega's return for the third hour.
I agree with you. I agree. He did talk about AEW's relationship with Warner Brothers. Specifically, Ariel wondered if Tony Khan is worried about the relationship with Warner Brothers up for sale. Now, there's a rumor that the Saudis may put in a bid for Warner Brothers. TK hyped their great relationship and pointed to the ongoing DC partnership, which right now is sponsoring the pay-per-view on Saturday. He said this is proof that AEW is clearly very strong in Warner Brothers' plans. Anyone who buys Warner will inherit the media rights deal with AEW, but may not be gung-ho about promoting it. But Ariel Helwani didn't push on that, likely because Tony Khan can't know when this will happen with Warner Brothers in the sale of the company. So he's going to refrain on that.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know what people expect him to say on that front. You know, he has a relationship with the existing management in Warner Brothers Discovery. If the company is sold, it may not be sold. If it doesn't get sold, they're breaking up into 2 different companies. That would happen, I think, in April.
Yeah.
If they're sold, everything is up in the air. So we don't know if they're going to be sold. We don't know if they're sold, who they're going to be sold to. Netflix has expressed interest, and I think they have been given access to their financial records. So we know that there's an interest there. And there may be a couple of other companies as well beyond Paramount. Paramount's made, I think, 2 or 3 different offers. They've been rejected every single time.
Yeah.
So where the Saudis come in is the Saudis, I think, would be part of this Paramount thing, and they would kick in a certain amount of money. So Paramount really very badly wants to buy Warner Brothers Discovery, and likely would not have any sort of regulatory issues because they got friends in high places. So they're probably the favorite, but they've already been rejected twice. So nobody knows anything. So what is he supposed to say?
He's not supposed to say anything.
Yeah, I mean, is he going to go out and say, well, you know, if they get sold, you know, we could be fucked?
Yeah, we're AEW's doomed, and I'm going to close the doors.
They may be, they may not be. I mean, they have their deal right now. Nothing's done, so it would be stupid of him or stupid of anybody to think that he would give any other answer.
I'm going to shout him out, Nicola Piccolo on Twitter. He's usually very in tune with what's going on. And he actually believes that it will be Paramount at the end that buys Warner Brothers Discovery. And Nicola Piccolo is one of the top talent agents for Paradigm, who manages the WWE talent that's with the agency. So if you guys pay attention to what he says, very informative threads on the entire process. And he will continue to do that for you guys. So go check that out. He was asked about moving all his shows to a streaming service the way WWE has done and UFC is currently doing. Khan says he isn't sure if AEW will ever move away from the pay-per-view model for events. He plans to keep delivering value for pay-per-view, something all but his most vicious critics concede AEW and Ring of Honor usually do. He also plugged their HBO Max offering and their Warner Brother deal overall. Tony's never going to move away from the pay-per-view model, which we've discussed on this show and individually many times, because it is truly one of his greatest moneymakers. So if you can sell 100 to 130,000 pay-per-views at $50 a pop, why would he give up on that to go to a streaming service and offer everybody $9.99 or $11.99 to get pay-per-views for free like we were getting on Peacock with WWE? Why would he do that? That's a terrible business move for Tony Khan in the current model of AEW.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be giving up somewhere in the range of $9 to $10 million, you know, potentially per event. So that's the model that works for them. That's how they make, you know, a lot of their money. And so, of course, he's going to stick with it as long as he can. It makes sense.
Helwani also pointed out that AEW is the only combat sports organization he knows that has no real ties to Saudi Arabia, rather to use this as a differentiator between his company and WWE. Khan said that he just never thought of it that way and moved on. It certainly wasn't an I'll never work with the Saudis or even an I don't currently work with the Saudis by choice deal. And then he said that this is not the version of TK that compared Vince McMahon to Harvey Weinstein or said to be under AEW is under attack. He says that he had said that frequently, that AEW is always under scrutiny and under attack online. When Helwani brought up industry veterans who attacked him and AEW on podcast, he mentioned Eric Bischoff and Jim Cornette by name. Khan just repeatedly mentioned that their programming gives pundits a lot to talk about. I'm sitting here with my hand raised, by the way. And the fact that they keep talking about it means that it must do good numbers for them, which it does. Hate on AEW is usually a good barometer for how a channel is doing. He also praised Eric Bischoff's run atop WCW and indicated that he's spoken to his frequent critic and sometimes online sparring partner more recently than folks might think. So he said that he's actually reached out to Eric as of just a couple months ago and spoke to Eric about his critiques on AEW. So, I mean, he's not wrong there, Jason. I know a lot of negative AEW content gets better numbers than positive AEW content. I'm pretty much in that camp. I know when I'm more negative on the company, it does better numbers than when I'm positive. But, you know, there's a reason why he's under attack. And I think a lot of people don't agree with the way he's doing things, but Tony doesn't see that he's doing wrong, which we'll get into in a bit because he did address that. But the reason why he's under attack is because people want to see the company do better and him do better, but he doesn't realize that. So I don't know why he's poking fun at those people.
Everybody.
Well,
not with everybody.
I guess. I mean,
there's a segment. Yeah. There's a segment of people out there who genuinely do not want to see them succeed. That's always been there. Yeah. That's not just a recent thing. Like there are people, because I remember like even not long after AEW first started, and you probably saw some of this as well, where there were people who were like, oh, you know, counting down the days until AEW dies. Yes. Before they had any, like all these creative issues that they had gone through and everything else. And it's like, you know, I'm not sure why people would be rooting for something like that, but like those people have always been there. And I don't know if it's just like diehard WWE defenders. Everyone has their reasons for feeling the way they feel. So that's not entirely true.
He spoke about the counter programming by WWE. Khan talked about WWE's history of doing that with competitors. Because of that, he says he actually expected it. He also said WWE counter programming never cost us anything and has always worked out in their favor, which I do believe is true. I think a lot of people make a bigger deal, the fans, Jason, make a bigger deal about the counter programming. But AEW and Tony Khan, in my opinion, have done a very good job to navigate those seas where WWE wants to be fucking uber petty, like moving to the afternoon. I don't think moving all out to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, I guess that was in London, wasn't it? So I guess that had to work out. It actually worked out in their favor that they were in the United Kingdom. But if he wanted to do that more often, I don't think
no, they were, I mean, all out, they were in Canada.
That's right. Yes. So they moved it to 3 p.m. So
they moved it from 8 p.m. to 3 p.m. And there were some people who were upset. I can understand people who had already bought tickets.
Yes.
For the show at 8 o'clock. When the show got moved, there were people who were very upset who were like, I can't make the show now.
Yeah.
Because I'm working or I had planned around the 8 o'clock show and now you're doing it earlier. I don't fly in until whatever. And those people really did get fucked over. Yeah. So I don't know how many of those people there were, but there were definitely people who were affected by it. But for the most part, like if you're watching it at home, just me personally, I prefer the afternoon shows because we know he insists on these marathon pay-per-views. And if you insist on having 5.5-hour shows, then they're much more tolerable at 3 o'clock in the afternoon than they are at 8 o'clock at night, like the one coming up next weekend.
Yeah, I agree. I was actually thinking of Forbidden Door. Forbidden Door was in the United Kingdom. That actually worked out in their favor because that was UK time. So we got that at 3 p.m. All Out was in Canada, like Jason said, 3 p.m. I much prefer that. I wish he would do that a little bit more often. There are ways to counter program WWE, but he insists on these fucking ridiculous 6-hour pay-per-views. Like nobody wants to sit here till 1 o'clock in the morning, and then we have to do what we got to do, and it's going to be a 5 a.m. bedtime for us. But
he doesn't care about that.
No, he doesn't care about that
because it's about his audience.
Yeah.
So his audience, they want more. And they're not going live at 12:30 in the morning. They're just going to watch their 5 hours and 6 hours, and that's what they want. So he's appealing to his audience.
I think we've made a point. Like he could even, if he doesn't want to move the show to a 3 p.m. start time, which he should do and announce early so that people don't have to reschedule their original plans and can get to where they need to be. Even moving the show from 8 p.m. to 7 p.m. would be a tremendous help. Now, I mean, that's on top of the fucking 16 matches we usually get every single pay-per-view. It doesn't even need to be that way. 7, 8, maybe, tops, if you want to go. 7's a nice round number, but I never see that happening because that's not the way he operates. But there are ways to counter program, honestly.
No, I mean, and I wonder if part of it also is because they do still charge for these pay-per-views because they do make him money.
Yeah.
So you're charging $40. I guess it's 40 if you're watching it on Max, $50 typically. And he tries to just overwhelm you with matches. He wants to kind of over deliver and not under deliver. So he feels compelled to have as many matches as, he feels he can possibly squeeze into a show. That's why so many matches, you just go in from one to the next, to the next, to the next. And you don't really have a chance to even digest what you just saw. Now, you compare that to the way WWE does things, it's two very different philosophies. Obviously, the Triple H philosophy is we got to make this a whole big spectacle, and we'll have 20 minutes in between matches. We'll only do 5 matches. But most people are getting the shows for free. They're not shelling out $50. It's like that psychological aspect of it where it's like, wait a minute, I have to pay $50 to watch this show?
Yeah.
And so in his mind, maybe that's part of it where it's like, all right, well, I'm giving you a pay-per-view. We're the only ones left, really, still doing pay-per-view. So let's give you 14 matches, and we'll blow you away and have the best show of the year. But less is more. I'm a big believer in less is more.
I am 100% there with you, for sure.
Yes. So, I understand the logic, but I disagree with it. And I think even like 8 or 9 matches, that's a lot of matches. You don't really need to go beyond that.
Well, you could do 8 or 9 matches, man, but every match doesn't need to be fucking 25 minutes. You can give me a fucking 8-minute match. You don't have to do 30 minutes every match.
Yes, there were matches even on the last show, like in the middle of the card, that were 25 minutes long. I think the Briscoe Fletcher match was like 25 minutes long.
It went 25 minutes. Yes.
I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, why it doesn't have to be this long?
Oh man. Yes, changes. Changes are good, man. Let's make those changes. He talked about WWE partnering with TNA. Khan pointed out the history of doing that when dealing with a challenger brand. Ariel said Matt Hardy told him the only reason WWE is working with TNA was to hurt AEW. I believe that 100%. TK replied, I think that's probably true. The fact that Matt said it, that's really cool, he says. I don't think Matt is that far off. I don't know what you think about that.
As far as
WWE's in bed with TNA to hurt AEW.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure that's part of their. That's not the only reason, but they have a pipeline now to TNA talent. They could use TNA talent without having them under contract and paying them. There's a lot of reasons they, I'm sure, love working with TNA instead of outright buying them.
Yes.
But if they can use TNA, I've said TNA, they will use TNA as their useful idiot when the situation presents itself, and they would like to in some way needle or harm AEW. Absolutely.
Yeah. TNA working with WWE, he's got that illusion of like, oh man, we're partnering with the biggest promotion in the world. And then obviously, like Jason said, not only paying them less, but WWE's got first dibs on those contracts when they're up, so they don't go to AEW. Just look at Joe Hendry. Look at Mike Santana coming up, Yeah,
Mike Santana. And there'll be others.
There
will be others.
Jordan Grace already over there, so it's going to continue happening. CM Punk's name came up, which I was actually shocked to hear. Khan again made a point to praise a critic. He spoke highly of both Punk's time at AEW and indirectly his WWE run by saying he thought everyone involved in the backstage drama with Brawl Out is in a better place now.
Well, he also talked about that photo.
Yes, he did.
So,
I have that here, yeah.
Yeah, so, but I'm not surprised he brought up the Punk stuff. Ariel had Punk in studio and spent, what did he spend, like 30 minutes probably talking about this stuff. It would have been weird if he didn't bring it up. The one thing, my takeaway from what I have seen of the interview, and I read most of it, but I didn't see the whole thing yet, but what I've seen so far is, even though he didn't give answers to every question that everybody would have liked or I would have liked to have had, I don't know if it was media training that he had or what, but it was definitely a different interview than he has given in the past, where I felt like he was more disciplined in the way that he, especially when it came to answering questions about whether it was Punk or stuff where people have made comments about him. And we've seen Tony make comments in the past, like, again, the Vince McMahon comments, or when he went off on Twitter on Shawn Michaels and Triple H when they went head-to-head that time. Bald asshole. Bald asshole meme from Curb Your Enthusiasm. He was more disciplined here, and he was just more like you said, he mentioned that people, that were here previously and are no longer here, they're in a happier place, and we're happy, and he was more disciplined is a good word for it. That's what I got out of what I was
do you
seeing
think
from
he
this
was?
interview.
Do you think he was tipped off with the questions beforehand, which gave him a better observation of to answer these questions or how to answer these
I
questions?
don't think so.
No? It almost felt like, and granted, this was one of the better Tony Khan interviews. I just find him over a 2.5 or 2 hour period with an interview like this just insufferable to listen to in one sitting. His interview with LaGreca was one of the worst I've ever heard. And I love Busted Open and Dave, but that interview was just a waste of 40 minutes. But it almost felt like Ariel holding Tony Khan's hand, crossing the street, telling him, the young child, look both ways before you cross. We don't want to get hurt. It's almost like he was, I don't know, like a baby holding a parent's hand for this interview. It's like he was very, thank you for asking these questions, Ariel. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be in the studio. And Ariel was like, I hope you're having a great time, Tony. I hope that you're having fun. Like seriously, do we need to baby him like this?
No, I mean, they had a falling out a while ago, and so they kissed and made up. And so now Ariel is trying to be nice to Tony. Tony's trying to be nice to Ariel. And that's what you saw there. You know, these are two people who, when they announced this interview, I was shocked because I figured we're not going to see this. And all of a sudden, it's like Tony Khan's going to be in studio. It's like, oh, okay, they must have, they must have mended fences. So they were being overly nice to each other. But again, Tony was being very careful not to say anything derogatory about anybody, and he was just trying to be the bigger man about certain things. And it was as if somebody, kind of made certain suggestions to him, maybe internally or whatever. And it's like he kind of learned from the past.
Yes,
there are questions that you are going to have to answer. There are questions that he's just never going to answer. And you saw some of that in the interview too. But there's also certain questions he got asked about certain talents where it's like,
I got here.
There's only so much he can say realistically on some of these things. You're not going to be able to get the actual answer out of him. And you'll mention he got asked about Miro and
Britt Baker, and he got asked about someone else. But
actually, one thing he got asked about was Adam Cole.
And I thought he was going to cry.
Well, because I didn't see that part. That part I read what he said.
Yeah,
and it was pretty bleak as far as the possibility of Adam Cole coming back and wrestling at all, which is kind of the sense we got from his speech, I guess, at All In. But it sounds like him coming back to wrestling, it's a pretty good chance that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. Yeah, I thought if you're going to go back and watch it, almost felt like Tony Khan was going to cry there in that segment for sure.
Well, of course, I'm sure he loves Adam Cole. Everybody who knows Adam Cole speaks highly of him. He seems like the nicest guy in the world. And he's been through fucking hell the last few years with these concussions and these injuries, right? I mean, the leg injury, the first concussion, the most recent concussion, it's just one thing after another. And you feel sorry for the guy, because he should have done so much more, but he just, there's these obstacles that keep being thrown in his way. And if this is how his career comes to an end, what a shit way for someone who's super talented and super well-liked. He's a great wrestler. If that's how his career ends, it's sad.
Yeah.
So, Tony, I feel like he formed these friendships and these relationships with some of these guys. And that's probably what you saw. He's reacting like a normal human being and not just a fucking corporate executive. He probably cares about the guy. He wants the best for him, and he realizes his career may be over.
Yeah. He did talk about the opinion of fans and pundits about the critique of Khan's passive management style Punk leveled on Helwani show last year. TK says he doesn't agree with the feedback, but everyone is entitled to their opinion. He says, everything in the situation is in the eye of the beholder, he said. He also didn't agree with Punk's account of events that led to his firing, but Khan chose to focus on his efforts to keep Punk in the fold with the Collision launch. Yes, I'm sure CM Punk went out there and completely lied about everything that happened there. I do not believe that for a second.
One thing that Tony Khan will never live down is going on television and looking in the camera and saying that he feared for his life.
Yes.
Because even if he did fear for his life, if he saw this madman coming at him, he saw a look in Punk's eyes, whatever it was, why would you go on television and say that? It sounded like he was being terribly over dramatic about the whole thing. And it's because he was being over dramatic about the whole thing. And that's something he never should have gone on television and said that. The stuff with the footage that they showed, I guess now was last year, right? April of last year.
He talked about that. He denied airing the security footage on Dynamite in response to Punk's interview with Helwani, but defended it as something that performed in the ratings. Khan said it was something that's in the eye of the beholder and thought that the tape spoke for itself. The security footage was aired as a direct attack because of the Ariel Helwani interview. If you hear any other story about that, you are being misled. Do not believe Tony Khan. He lied to Helwani's face right there in studio. The only reason why that shit aired is because Punk's interview. That's it. But we're told that it's not.
I'm sure he wanted and loved popping a rating, but you'll notice that I don't think that Dynamite has done a number anywhere close to what they did, because that show did like 800,000 viewers.
That show did 850,000 viewers. They haven't come close since.
They have not come close since. It was such a short-sighted thing, because you watch that video and it does nothing to make like Jack Perry or anybody that's still with them look good. So it's like literally the only reason to air it would be either in response, like an emotional response to something that was said about him and the whole situation, or, you know what, we can really pop a number out of this and get a lot of eyeballs on the show, which they did, but it was a very stupid thing to do. And it certainly didn't create any new fans, right? You had people who were interested in seeing what the footage looked like, and then they saw it and they said, well, this doesn't make anybody look good. Certainly not Jack Perry. And like you said, like the audience has dwindled since then.
They've driven people away from the show because of that incident, and they never come back. It's actually harmed them more than anything.
Well, there were also a lot of CM Punk fans who, once he left, that was probably the only reason why they were watching, right? You have those like diehard Punk fans, and I'm sure those fans never came back and probably never will. But I said it at the time, like it was just a very dumb thing, I think, to air that footage. There was no need for it. It just didn't really serve any real purpose, to be honest with you. And yeah, it was a bad look for AEW airing that footage. And Punk, yeah, I mean, I've said what I've said about Punk and the way he conducted himself back then. He didn't do himself any favors. But at that point, like, Punk's already in WWE. They're airing this footage. All you're doing is you're giving television exposure to somebody who doesn't even work for you anymore. They're on the other show.
Yeah.
It was so just short-sighted. And he said, well, it's all in the eye of the beholder. Sure. And it's in the eye of the beholder, in the eye of a lot of beholders out there. It was a very dumb, embarrassing thing to do.
The only eye of the beholder I want to listen to is the track off Injustice for All, Metallica's fourth album. I don't want to hear this nonsense about... it's in the eye of the beholder. No, you fucked up. So thanks for coming. The incident was actually used as well. I don't know if you remember. It was a vehicle. They actually spawned it off as a vehicle to sell that vacated match for the tag team titles with FTR and the Young Bucks. If you remember that, I think that was used in that storyline for the tournament.
I do. And was it used to reintroduce Jack Perry to television?
Yes.
And then, that didn't really
it went nowhere.
Work out in the long term.
No.
So.
You mentioned the photo. He did ask about the photo, the illustrious photo that aired post Saturday night's main event with Ricky Saints, Jade Cargill, Cody, and CM Punk. All
I thought his answer was actually very good.
I actually am going to praise this as well, believe it or not. So that was the photo. Khan said it made him smile and reminded him of the picture Rhodes took with John Moxley early in AEW's existence at the first Double or Nothing. If you remember, it's Cody holding the TNT title and John Moxley holding the AEW title, and they're both giving the middle finger. That was during the golden days of AEW. He says he could talk for hours about how highly he thinks of all four in the Saturday night's main event photo as wrestlers and people, but mostly he thought about Mox and Rhodes and that picture. I would have gotten heat if I came on here and shit on it. But I will say this, Jason, and I mean this wholeheartedly because I've said this once, several times in the past, actually. I do believe we have to thank Tony Khan for bringing CM Punk back to pro wrestling. I don't think without Tony Khan, Punk is wrestling. And I do think that we can thank Tony Khan for bringing CM Punk to WWE as well, so it works both ways. Cody Rhodes, I do believe, got his start on the indies, leaving WWE, given AEW and a role in AEW. I do think that helped him become who he is today. We wouldn't have Jade Cargill and the rollout for Jade Cargill without AEW, and we certainly don't have Ricky Saints the way he is right now in NXT as NXT champion without Tony Khan and AEW. So I do think with what we saw there, and I hope that you all clip this because I know you won't because it's positive. I do think that all four, we have Tony Khan to thank, and I do think that he has a major part in all four where they are today.
Oh, I mean, Jade Cargill, he tried to keep Jade with AEW.
Yeah.
Yeah, he talked about that at the time. Like, he basically said to her, like, what is it going to take to keep you here? And she threw out some number at him, and I just think she was completely checked out and had her mind set on leaving and going to WWE because he matched what she wanted, and she still left. So you can't say that he didn't try to keep her, or that when she was there, he didn't push her to the moon. Like, she was undefeated for how many months, right? The longest reigning TBS champion at that time. So I look at someone like Jade, and it's like he did everything that you could possibly do to try to keep that woman with the company, but she could see like her future. She had like a bigger future in mind. And what, you know, she signed with WWE and TKO. She's like the first TKO signing. And they make a big deal about it. And, you know, so I don't fault him for like her leaving. You know, we could talk about Punk and Cody and whatever happened there, Ricky Saints, Starks. But in the case of Jade, it's like, what more could he have done? When your heart is set on leaving and going somewhere, you're gone.
Yeah.
That's it. There's nothing you could throw all the money in the world at her, which he tried to do, and it didn't work. So I don't, like, as far as she goes, I don't blame him for that. He did all he could.
Yeah, so that's that as far as the picture goes. Actually, I was actually proud. I was not surprised because Ariel is a very good interview. I was proud that he actually pressed Tony about the AEW ratings and the HBO Max numbers. Tony said he doesn't get those, the Max numbers, and he hasn't seen those. I call bullshit on that. The guy runs his own analytic company. You need to tell me he doesn't have the Max numbers? He knows exactly what's going on there, in my opinion. He says not even the NFL gets streaming numbers all the time. Bullshit. TK did say that Blood and Guts a week ago was probably our most watched show in months on streaming. But I thought you didn't have the numbers. So how the fuck do you know it was your most watched show in months on streaming? Now, it did 600,000 in the rating, and he continues to say that AEW is having their greatest year ever as far as ratings, but I'm here to tell you numbers. I got numbers to back it up here. I want you to look at the numbers from 2024 to 2025 here. Quarter one in 24, 810, 25, 613. 2024, quarter two, 711, 25, 627. Quarter three, 2024, 696, and then 25, 562. Everything is going downwards. So I don't know where he says everything is great and we're having the best shows this year and the best match. Clearly, the numbers aren't backing that up. So I don't know what the fuck he's talking about with this being the best year ever. But what do you think about his stance on how the company is going? Now, I know he's a businessman and he's supposed to say what he's got to say, but I think with us having this stuff readily available to us, Jason, don't you think that he knows that we know exactly what's going on? Why does he continue to bullshit people?
No, because I think that's what he believes. He talks about how creatively he thinks this is the best year in AEW. And I think in the interview, he also talked about how, it might have been at the beginning of this year, he took more of an active role in the creative aspect of the company. And I think he likened it to the beginning of 2020. So at the very end of 2019, there was some stuff that happened on TV creatively that he disagreed with. The talent had a different view. He allowed it to happen. I think I know exactly what show he's referring to.
Is it that Nightmare Collective thing?
No, it was the episode of Dynamite. It was right around Christmas time where the Dark Order attacked the Elite. And they were throwing those awful, horrendous punches.
Oh my God, that was so terrible.
That truly one of the worst segments in the history of the show. And I think that was the night that convinced Tony. He probably pulled the reins back on the Bucks and some of the members of the Elite and said, you know what? I'm taking more of a hands-on active role here. So he kind of used that as an example, I guess, at the beginning of this year. There were some things that against his better judgment, he said he allowed to happen. He didn't like it. It didn't work out. So he took the book. He took the reins a little bit more. I believe that he believes that this is the best year creatively in AEW. I may not agree with it. You may not agree with it, but I think that he believes that that is the case. Numbers-wise, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. And the thing is, like, we can't say definitively what the max numbers are because if we believe Tony, nobody really knows what the max numbers are. Maybe Warner Brothers Discovery is giving him a sense of how the show is doing. Oh, things are going well. Things are going great. Things were a little soft. If we believe him, I would imagine they have to be giving him some kind of update for him to say that it was one of their highest viewed shows on streaming, because how would he know? I find it hard to believe he has no insight whatsoever into how his own television show is doing. Maybe he does, and it's proprietary, so he can't share it. But to outright say that I don't have the numbers, I don't know, is very hard to believe.
Yes.
So, and let alone all this nonsense about, 500,000 on streaming or whatever that story was. So I think creatively he believes that right now AEW is in the best place that they've been in. And even if he doesn't believe it, as a promoter, he's not going to say anything else.
No.
Because it will only hurt his product if he comes out and says, well, the show this year has been good, but I'm trying to get it back to where it was 3 years ago. Like, he's never going to say anything like that. I think he believes he has the best roster ever assembled.
He did say that.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he did say that.
So I believe he believes that he has the best roster ever assembled. He puts together the best possible, banger matches that he could put together. And they did a big crowd for All In. They did a big crowd for, what was it, Forbidden Door maybe, for some of these shows, like the big shows they do. The issue is more the weekly television. And they still, for as great of a year as they're having, and I've always said this, if we take him at his word, by now, and I said this months ago, by now, they would already be back to running bigger buildings for the weekly shows. And they're not. They're still running the smaller, more intimate venues because they're not able to get people into the buildings, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people, whereas a few years ago, they were doing that. That, to me, is the telltale sign. It always goes to the gate. It goes to how many tickets are you selling. That's how you can really also gauge what the interest level is in your product. When they start running bigger buildings for Dynamite each week, that to me will be a sign that, okay, they're bringing people back or they're bringing in new fans. They haven't done that yet.
Yeah, and they have a residency at the Hammerstein Ballroom coming up for Christmas where they're taping 4 shows, and they have a residency immediately to start 2026 at the Esports Arena where they'll be doing it all month. So if they were so great.
Which is a small venue. I'm sure they're getting some sort of financial deal out of it. But it's a small venue. So I'm still waiting. That to me is the ultimate test. When we start seeing Dynamite, they're booking bigger buildings where they feel confident that they could sell tickets, not just 2,000-3,000 seats, but like consistently 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. That to me will be a sign of, okay, they're bringing in these new fans and they're able to kind of blow Dynamite back up to what it used to be and not just run the smaller venues, which are cool when you run them occasionally. Like, I would love to see WWE run a show at the Hammerstein Ballroom, right? That doesn't mean I want to see them run there every week.
Yeah.
But as a special show, I think that would be kind of cool because we don't get to see that very often.
Yeah, they'll probably save that for NXT. I'd love to see that too. But just to give you...
AEW is going back there in December 20th and 21st.
For Christmas, yeah. But just to give you a glimpse about the attendance, just to give... a little bit more credence to what Jason said. Blood and Guts in 2023 was at the TD Garden. They did 9,000 people. The last 2 years, they barely did 4,300. How do you lose half of your audience for one of your marquee shows? Like, I don't understand that. Back-to-back years? But everything's great. No, it's not. So I just find it to be I find it to be laughable. I don't know. He talked about Adam Copeland being a part of the John Cena retirement tour. That was never going to happen. And he said Copeland is under contract and a big picture or a big part of AEW's picture. And then he also mentioned Shockwave because that came up with the national title discussion.
Well, before you get to that, I think on the Copeland thing, he made, because he was asked about John Cena, the tournament.
Yeah.
And was there ever any discussion with WWE about Adam Copeland possibly participating in the tournament or being his last opponent? And I don't have it in front of me, but I think he made a comment to the effect of, well, if they wanted to extend him out, Cena, that is, extend him out into next year, you never know, right? It's like, but Cena has been very adamant that he's not wrestling beyond this year. So it's like he could say that, but he knows like that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, he also gave a quick no to Copeland being in the tournament. No, why would that happen? So
yeah, and honestly, like considering the adversarial relationship between the two companies, if I'm Tony Khan, I'm probably telling them to fuck off.
Yeah. He also talked about the Shockwave thing about NWA and that whole national title situation. He didn't realize NWA, or Pride for that matter, had used that name and told NWA owner Billy Corgan he wouldn't use it. Ariel didn't bring up the Fox rumors, reports, and speculation. Corgan and TK also sorted out the national title issue as well, with AEW starting with no history and a fresh lineage. So it's not going to kind of coincide with the NWA national title held by Mike Mondo. Then he gets into a rapid fire Q&A or questionnaire segment of the show where he lists off several talents, and these are the talents that he listed off. He started with Killer Cross. So tell me about Killer Cross. Was there ever any reach from AEW to go out and get him? Helwani thought signing Cross would be a slam dunk for AEW. TK says they hadn't spoken since he left WWE. He didn't say he would either, just that Allen's had great experiences working with Cross, and the idea of bringing him in would be interesting. So he didn't say he wouldn't bring him in, but I think he basically said a lot without saying anything, that there's no interest there from AEW to Cross. So I would rather Cross just stay where he is. I think he's killing it with his independent run. Adam Cole, we just talked about it. Khan says he wouldn't say that Cole will never wrestle again, but he currently can't travel, and right now is not the right time for him to come back or even talk about it. He mentioned Cole's history with head injuries, and he's dealing with post-concussion syndrome. So he is not going to be back anytime soon. I wish him the best, as does Jason. Andrade,
which is probably more than I've heard him say about Adam Cole this whole time.
Yeah, nothing's really been said about him. Andrade, we basically got confirmation that Andrade's non-compete with WWE without Khan directly confirming it. Ariel probed to see if TK thought Andrade misled him about his contract status prior to his brief AEW run. Tony would only say he loved working with Andrade in the past and would work with him again in the future. So there's a lot of mistake going on there, and I think Tony's lawyers and Tony Khan himself kind of hastily brought Andrade back to television, which we talked about. They didn't do their due diligence to find out what was going on there. So I think he tried to avoid answering that question about Andrade and quickly move on to the next segment because he knew he fucked up. So that's basically all there is to that one.
Well, also, I mean, even just the situation that Andrade is in, there's probably stuff that he probably knows, but it's not necessarily his place to come out and say it.
Yeah.
But that whole situation just made AEW look terrible. Just throwing him on TV so that he can take out one of their top stars, and then he vanishes. So he will always be, even if he never goes back there, he will always be able to say he came back to the company, he beat up Kenny Omega, and he left.
Yeah, she should use that as a new slogan.
Yeah. I came, I beat up Kenny Omega, and I left. They can put that on a t-shirt and sell it on fucking Pro Wrestling Tees.
And he talked about Miro and slash Rusev, another indirect confirmation that Tony and Rusev didn't agree on how he should be booked, which TK chalked up to different visions of things. He clearly was excited to get back to WWE, and he did go back. I wish him the best, and that must make sense for him and why he wanted to do it. So there you go. But Rusev has lost more than he's won in WWE, so you make your own conclusions about who wanted to win and who wanted to lose.
Yeah, but Rusev's idea also was the gamer stuff that he did when he first came in.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't call that great stuff.
No.
So he may have had his own ideas. That doesn't mean those ideas were necessarily any better than whatever Tony might have had.
Whose idea was it for him to come in as the best man with Kip Sabian? Was that his idea too?
Well, that was the whole thing. He came in, he was doing the gamer gimmick, and he was the best man with Kip Sabian, right? I think they were doing that at the same time, I think.
Yeah.
And God, wasn't there some kind of like gamer match they had? They built up to some big match. It was like a gamer match. Somebody popped out of an arcade.
Yes, there was arcade machines in Daly's place. Yes, there was.
Yes.
Someone came out of an arcade machine. I don't know. I think it was Thunder Rosa or someone like that.
I don't remember who it was, but I remember that match. I don't remember any of the details about it, but I know I covered it. I reviewed it. I just don't remember much about it.
That was pandemic era AEW, but he went out to talk about Britt Baker. To hear Tony tell it, everything is okay with Britt Baker. He loves Britt in and out of the ring and has great talks with Britt Baker. And as of recently, he said he spoke to her and is just waiting for the right creative idea or spot to bring her back. I mean, we got a whole fucking tournament with all these women in a women's blood and guts match that had 12 women in it. When's the right time, Tony? It's up to you, man. You make the matches. You make the ideas. Bring her back. What's waiting? What's taking so long?
They were in Pittsburgh, and she wasn't there.
Nope. Goodbye. She's as good as gone. Chris Jericho, he says, I love Chris, both personally and professionally. I recently reached out to wish him a happy birthday. I'm very excited about everything he's done in AEW, and he continues to be a part of us. Is he going to be back? I can't speak on that, but I love having Chris in AEW, and the door is always open for him. So basically, Tony is saying, Chris, we wish you the best in your future endeavors.
Well, he's hoping that Chris comes back, but I think he's smart enough to know that there's a very good chance that's not going to happen.
Yes, and then
or at the very least, if Chris Jericho's a savvy business guy, if he either goes back to WWE or he leverages a better deal for himself to stay where he is.
He'll be in the Royal Rumble. And Will Ospreay was mentioned here. Tony opened up with, boy, do I love Will Ospreay. So you see what he feels about Will Ospreay. He wouldn't commit to a timetable of Ospreay's return, but he said it would be sooner rather than later. There you go. That was Ariel Helwani and Tony Khan. All right, man, before we get to the super chats, I mean, rapid fire, full gear predictions. We'll start with Big Boom AJ, QT Marshall against Rocky Romero and Shrimp Beretta.
Well, so here's the thing. The last time we saw Big Boom AJ, he was no fan of QT Marshall. They were feuding. Now they're tag team partners. They shot an angle on Ring of Honor. And
how do you know this?
I know all.
I know, I guess. They shot an angle. Yeah, what happened?
Doing my predictions for it on my podcast. I got to do my homework.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about shit that I don't know what I'm talking about. But my suggestion to him, but to Big Boom AJ, would be to go back and watch some old Sting and Ric Flair and Horseman tapes, because I have a feeling that we may be in for a similar angle, which if that happens, then the heels win. But Rocky Romero doesn't win anything. So I'm gonna go with Big Boom AJ and QT Marshall. Maybe if anything happens, it happens after, maybe. I'm
going Big Boom AJ. I think he's going to get the win with QT. We got 2 money matches on the show. Did you know that? We got one for $1 million and another one on the pre-show for $200,000.
He has a lot of money to throw around.
I guess. I'd love to see some of that money myself. Maybe I'd be a little bit more positive.
Why don't give it to you?
To be positive.
You could be bought off that easily?
No,
well, now we know about JD.
Max Caster and Anthony Bowens versus Juice Robinson and Austin Gunn versus Big Bill and Brian Keith versus the Outrunners for $200,000.
Man, JD's going to be coming on here next week talking about how excited he was to watch Collision this week.
Oh, man, I'll even watch Ring of Honor.
Once the check clears. This has got to be the Acclaimed. I mean, they're working an angle to get them back together. They don't want to have anything to do with each other. I don't know why they're forcing these two men to tag. I don't know why. That I don't know. I don't know the backstory behind why it's so important that they get back together. But they're going to probably win the money.
I'd love to see the Outrunners do a little bit more than this hokey bullshit, but
Tony Khan doesn't do anything with the Outrunners.
Nah. Caster and Bowen's going to win. Pac versus Darby Allin just announced for this match. Fire or not, I don't know what's going to happen here, but I'm going Darby.
Darby wins the match because he beat Moxley to lose to Pac. I don't think so.
$1 million money match, Bucks and Josh Alexander versus Jurassic Express and Kenny Omega. I'm going Bucks and Josh Alexander, yeah. And I think they eventually get the tag team titles away from FTR, which we'll talk about here. Brody King Bandito versus FTR, tag team titles on the line. I'm going FTR to win.
New champs.
New champions.
Got to set up the match with Copeland and Christian. I mean, look, they beat up the guy's wife.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're setting up for a rematch. We haven't seen Christian either, by the way. I have a feeling the reason we haven't seen him is because Nick Wayne is just still out recovering from the broken foot.
Yeah. TNT title on the line. Kyle Fletcher defends against Mark Briscoe in a no DQ match.
Champion.
I agree. We just got a lot of no DQ in the Blood and Guts, so expect more of the same here. I'm going Mark Briscoe to win the TNT championship and finally win the big one.
Yeah, I mean, if he loses, he has to join the Don Callis family. And if there's one thing we don't need more of, it is more members of the Don Callis family. So this will be a Mark Briscoe win.
AEW National Championship on the line. Casino Gauntlet to crown the inaugural champion here. Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, Ricochet, Mike Bailey, Kevin Knight already announced with more to be announced. I'm actually going Ricochet to win this because I just feel like he's in the middle of nothing and they want to make him feel special by giving him a useless championship.
Well, Ricochet, I believe, is wrestling Bobby Lashley tomorrow. I believe that's been announced.
Okay.
I believe so. I'm going a little bit different here in this national... It's Casino Gauntlet, right?
Casino
National
Gauntlet,
title Casino Gauntlet. Yeah, I really wish they would keep that to like
all
in, but whatever. I'm going Switchblade Jay White.
Wow,
makes his return and wins the national championship.
All right, I like that. I hope that's something we see. I like that a lot. Chris Statlander versus Mercedes Moné, AEW Women's Championship on the line. Stat is the champion. Mercedes holds 13 championships. Will it be 14, Jason? I'll give you the first dibs on this.
No, it will not be.
Really?
Yes, I believe Chris Statlander will retain the AEW Women's
I'm
World
going
Championship.
14 championship belt money.
Okay. Well, she is going to unify the Ring of Honor television title tomorrow night because they're doing a unification match with her and
Red Velvet.
Red Velvet. Her and Red Velvet. So technically that wouldn't count as 14 because she already has the interim.
Yeah.
So it would just convert to the official version. So if she wins on Saturday, it would be 14. I just think the story here is that for all these championships that she keeps winning, she cannot win the championship. The one blemish on her record was the first time she wrestled for the world title and she lost. And she already beat Chris Statlander twice. Remember a year ago, we were talking about predictions for Full Gear. This was the first match they had. Mercedes won. They wrestled at World's End. Mercedes won. Now she's got all these belts. And the end game, we have to be getting to an end game here. The end game here, I think, is she has to lose what she has before she wins the big one. Now is not the time for her to win the big one. I think she loses.
All right, we'll see. It does serve to be a little unpredictable, which I do like. So we'll see what happens there. Again, I got to see it to believe it. I don't know. I'm going Mercedes.
Well, in Blood and Guts, the last image of her that we had, Statlander put her through a table, right, with the Samoan drop.
Yeah.
So now she's going to, but there was one show left. So she's going to go in there tomorrow. She's going to win. So she's going to have all this momentum going into Saturday. And I think she's just going to fall short. It's like the one championship she keeps trying to win that she can't win. She wins all these other ones, but she cannot win this one. And then as she drops these other ones, she has to unload these before she can pick up the world championship. I keep going back to what I said a few weeks ago. If you put your world title on her in AEW, and then she starts going out and dropping all these other belts, even if she only loses some of them in matches, I don't know why Tony Khan would want his women's world champion going out to all these independent shows and losing to all these different people. Like, to me, that just does not make any sense.
Yeah, it does sound silly, yeah. We'll see. I don't know. I'm going Mercedes. Jason's going Stat. Hangman Page, world championship on the line, defends against Samoa Joe in a steel cage match. Hangman wins, and I think we see the return of MJF.
Hangman wins is probably the easiest prediction to make on this show. And I think MJF shows up at the very end of the show. And I would have that as the cliffhanger. I wouldn't have him call his shot yet.
No.
I mean, he could just show up or attack him and then save it for Dynamite, because again, they changed the rules. So it's not like it's Money in the Bank. You have to call your shot with the contract at least a week in advance. I would save that for Dynamite next week and have him announce that he's going to get his title match at World's End.
I agree. And that is Full Gear. And I know I'll be live with Jesse Saturday night. I don't know if Jason's going to go live with the rest of us sickos or he's going to wait for Sunday to cover the show. What are you doing?
Well, I'm also wondering if they're going to do the finals of the women's tournament. I don't know that they can. I don't know that there's enough time, right? Because we haven't even gotten to the semis yet.
Yeah, I think the semis are taking. Well, actually, I don't know when they start. Do they start tomorrow? Are we still? We're not even out of the first round yet, are we?
Well, on Dynamite, no, we're still in the first round. So on Dynamite tomorrow, they're doing Tony and Mina against Riho and Alex Windsor.
Yes.
And they're doing TJ against Megan Bain and Marina Shafir.
Yes.
So
yeah, they probably won't be taking place.
But to leave like Tony Storm off the show and some of these other women off the show completely?
Yeah, for the national title, yeah.
Okay.
I don't get it either.
Maybe they'll announce they'll put them in some sort of like all-star tag team match or something.
Maybe
they'll announce it tomorrow.
Maybe. Thank you guys very much for what I thought was a great show tonight. We're going to get into your super chats, so please get them on in if you have not done so already. Hit that thumbs up. We are 750 likes. I'd love to see another 250 for 1,000. And please go follow Jason on social media, on Twitter, and on YouTube. Everything you need is linked down below in the description. Let's get us out of here and round off the night with you guys. We're going to start with Michael Krause. Best in the game, JD, Jason, TNT. Let's go. Yeah. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Fox Boom 134 on the 499. Just thought about the West Side Gun situation. Maybe WWE's mad he was at AEW doing the entrance theme for the Hurt Syndicate at All In. Music sucks. Yeah, we did. Someone mentioned that last week. It is a plausible reason, for sure.
Well, when did he do that?
I don't know.
Because remember, when he was kicked out of Raw, that was in March.
Yeah.
So if it happened after that, then that doesn't make any sense.
He was certainly at Blood and Guts. I seen him in the front row.
Yeah, no, he was there. But again, I believe he got kicked out of Raw like way earlier this year.
Yeah. Bader Mohammed, thank you, brother. Hello, JD Jason. If their careers end today, how would you rank the following names from 1 to 5? Punk, Roman, Seth, Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes. Ooh.
Yeah, it's interesting. Before I answer that, just to go back to the tournament, I guess they could probably, I mean, they won't do the finals, but they could probably just do the match with Tony Amina against Megan and Marina.
If they wanted
on the
to.
pay-per-view.
Yeah, they could. Yeah.
Just coming off what happened at the end of Blood and Guts last week. They could just do that match on the show. That way you get those names at least on the pay-per-view.
I could see that. I'm going to go Randy, Roman, Punk, Seth, Cody.
Read the names again. This is if they were to retire today, right?
Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and CM Punk. So I'm going Randy, Roman, Punk, Cody, Seth, and then Cody. Cody last.
I'm probably going to go Punk and Roman, Randy, Seth, and then Cody.
Okay. Punk number 1, huh?
Yeah, I think so. I just think if you look at his overall body of work, and again, we're looking entire career, you have to include the AEW stuff in there.
You do?
Where he hit a lot of milestones, even though it crashed and burned there at the end. I mean, he did help them get their first $1 million buy rate, and there were a lot of, big things that he helped that company do.
Baltimore Jackson with the 499. Salamonster, how long have you been doing podcasting? What was your reason or inspiration for going into podcasting? Please, thoughts.
Well, this month is 18 years. So long time. I wanted to get into it because I just wanted to have an outlet to talk about wrestling. I had an opportunity to do something that I thought was fun. And so I just decided to start it. You come up with a name, you figure out, okay, what you're going to do, what day of the week are you going to do it? What do you want to talk about? And I just started doing it, and I didn't pay any attention to how long I would be doing it for. And it just kind of blew up into something much more. And here we are all these years later.
Nate with a $5 super chat coming to us from Australia. Best thing about Bella going heel is it should stop the glazing of her. And can you fit the bronze Drew Brock in the same shark cage? Yeah, we talked about that earlier. It's going to be a little comical. It's going to be like a clown car in there. Honestly. Bella going heel. No, she's got her Bella army. They'll still glaze her the same. Baltimore Jackson, the 499. Best part of the show is hearing you guys fumble over your words, creating those classic funny moments and creative ideas. Solo is the goat of that. It happens. What are you going to do? It happens. Adam JD with a 5. Best duo in the business. Also, Jason, congrats on your recent anniversary. 18 years. Cheers to many more. Hashtag TNT. Hashtag OTS for life. Hashtag Salamonster sounds off.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Adam. Walker Stubbs with a $9.99. Hey, JD, remember my super chat on Monday where my friend said AEW reminded him of the Attitude Era? He means with all the tables and everything. I just tend to not say anything to him. Yes, and I told you, Walker, that the Attitude Era was selling out arenas. AEW in 2025 is not. I would say AEW is more reminiscent of kind of like being a miniature ECW. Never mind an Attitude Era. Melee King, Sidro, $5 super chat and $2 super chat. What did the bra say to the hat? You go on ahead while I give these two a lift. And I was asked to name 2 structures that hold water. I was like, well, damn. And he also says, read a book about onions. Was a real tearjerker. Yes. I'm not a big onion guy. I don't like to cut them.
Not
I don't
even
like
on
to
a
eat
burger?
them. No.
Yeah, I gotta have onion on a burger. Come on, man.
No. Simple is best for me. Sidro with a 5. What do you do if a gang of clowns attacks you? you go for the jugular. Oh, I'm sorry. God, Jesus Christ, I fucked it up.
Way to go.
I fucked it up. So you go for the jugular. I said jugular.
You go for the juggalo.
Yeah, you go for the Vince Russo, yeah.
That's right.
What do you call a detective that investigates electricity? Sherlock Ohms. Sorry, Sidro, I fucked that one up, man. It was just one of them things. I seen jugular and I thought jugular. I don't know what the fuck was going on there. $5 super chat. A lady in the grocery store asked me why some eggs were white and why some were brown. I told her the brown ones were a whole wheat. At least hopefully they're organic. I don't eat anything but organic eggs. I don't know where the eggs come from. Baltimore Jackson.
They're more expensive though.
I know. I'd rather pay for something like that than kind of skimp on the regular ones. Baltimore Jackson with a $4.99. Whatever happened to handicap matches? Haven't seen any of those in recent years. And outside of baseball and wrestling, what other sports do you follow? I think handicap matches are lame. I'm glad we haven't seen any of them lately. And I don't know. Baseball, wrestling's probably the only two sports I really pay attention to. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's mainly baseball, wrestling. I'm kind of casually aware of what's going on, like as far as like the NFL and all that, but I don't make it a point to watch the games every week. I'm not married to the Giants or the Jets. They both fucking suck. So
yeah,
I mean, what am I? There's nothing to root for as far as that goes. So.
Leopoldo with a $2 super chat. Wow, Santana's reign 32 days. Alberto Del Rio 43 reigns. 43 days for a reign. Are we really comparing the two reigns? I'd much rather Santana over Del Rio. Baltimore Jackson with a $4.99. I used to love buildings, sandcastles with my granny, but my parents thought it was creepy, so they glued the urn shut. Yes, Jackson, you are kind of morbid with some of your jokes, bro. I don't know, man.
Getting dark.
Base Beers with a 2. Hello with a turkey emoji. It's that time of the year. Better Network with a 5 coming to us from Canada. Do you have any updates about doing a hog commentary again, JD? If you prefer not to answer, that's perfectly okay. Well, I did talk to Brian. We're going to give it a little bit more time. I thought it was a positive discussion. I spoke with him for an hour, and we're going to give it till we're going to give it a couple more months. So I'll leave it at that. Base Beers with a 2. They pushed Jey Uso, but not Dolph Ziggler. No yeet. Unfortunately, they did, yes. Ali with a 2. JD, what was your favorite Eddie Guerrero match? I don't know. It's a good one.
Well, I mean, for me...
the Brock Lesnar match, I'd say.
Yeah, No Way Out.
Yeah.
Well, there's two of them. No Way Out 04, but also the Halloween Havoc match with Rey Mysterio.
Yeah. Christopher Holloway with a $9.99. From Cena's comments on ESPN's First Take, the December 13th Saturday Night's main event will showcase NXT. Yeah, he said that last week in Boston as well. It's going to be a showcase for NXT. He said that on Raw. Base Bears with a 2. Bronson Reed isn't even big.
He slimmed down.
He did. He looks good.
Which is good for his knees and his health.
Yeah. Emoji Matt with a $4.99. JD, why are you so sad during Collision Corner? You never laugh. Do I? Do I sound sad? You can't even see me. It's old Jesse for the 5 minutes that he's on. Baltimore Jackson with a $4.99. Someone took a shit in the WWE creative room because this company smells like ass. The company should be cleaned from top to bottom, in and out. Blame VKM. Hey, it's not good. I'm hoping for a better 2026. Graps with a $4.99. I love you, Solo. With Alexa's great promo and her being on the bestsellers list, one of the only decent SmackDown stories. Do you see singles gold in her future?
Not in the immediate future, no. I see her as someone who they could put in there with Jade, so Jade could beat her.
He also says, I haven't seen as many stocks in a women's wrestler since prime Mariah May than I do in Tatum Paxley. What a talent. Get a Lyra heel turn on her on SmackDown. I don't know. What do you think about Tatum? I think Tatum's got a great look. I don't. Again, I kind of feel the same way about Tatum as I do JCJ, and it's like I want to like her, but I'm not fully there yet. How do you feel about that?
I'm not like invested in her as someone who I think if she gets called up, she's going to get the big push or anything like that. I mean, there's a lot of women on the main roster right now that I think are way ahead of her. I think she's got she's very likable.
Yeah.
So I could see her getting over organically with the audience over a period of time, but it's not going to be like you call her up and she's like, oh, this major addition to the women's division. She'd be a solid addition, but I think it would take a while to get there.
Boss Mo Jackson with a $4.99. Every time I see security or police officers during a huge brawl, I think to myself, there are future mid-card and world champions in there. Yeah, sometimes. A lot of independent talent work those roles to get on TV, get some exposure. Lavelle with a 5. Multiple rumors on why Roman wore a long sleeve last night. You guys think it's more to the story or a complete non-issue? He didn't appear injured. I didn't really say this, but now that you mention it, I'm going to chalk it up to maybe he got more tattoo work and he just had it covered. I don't know. I didn't really think anything of it.
Yeah, I mean, he was moving around fine. He was using the arm, so I wouldn't read too much into it.
Yeah, he gave Brock a hell of a Superman punch, so.
Michelle, well, Brock, I mean, he gave him the normal Superman punch. Just Brock sold the shit out of it.
Yeah.
If Brock likes you and he wants to sell for you, he's still one of the best sellers in wrestling.
I agree. Michelle with a 2. Why hadn't TK ended Mox and company after last Wednesday's loss? I don't think he knows how to. Or he's leaving it. I don't think he wants to. And I honestly think he's leaving it in John Moxley's hands. Whenever John wants to do it, he's going to let John do it. Toya D with a 5. What are the chances of Ryder or Ziggler appearing in the Rumble? Also, what's your favorite Thanksgiving dish, gentlemen? I think both of them and the odds of them being in the Rumble are very high. More so Ryder than Ziggler. But as far as Thanksgiving, I'm a mashed potato guy. Big time.
I usually have this dish. It's called like kugel, but it's I call it noodle pudding. It's the people are like, what? What is that? And it's just like, it's got different ingredients in it. I think a little bit of cinnamon, but like it's just a bunch of noodles that are basically like all like cooked together.
Yeah.
And you cut it up into like slices, almost like cake.
Is it cold? Or is it hot?
No, it's not hot. It's not. I mean, it can be, I guess, but it's not usually like a hot dish. But it's really good.
Yeah, I'm more of a side dish guy. Macaroni and cheese, mashed potatoes, stuffing. Yeah. Everything but the turkey I enjoy. But
you don't like turkey?
I'll have a couple pieces, but I'm not a big turkey guy. No.
I'm a dark meat guy.
Really? I'm only white meat, man.
Yeah, no. I love the dark meat.
Toya, thank you. Very good question. Alex with a 10. Brothers JD and Solo, do you guys think if Cody or Brandy ever wrote a book about their history in AEW, would we finally know the true reason why they departed AEW? This is not going to happen until long after Cody is retired. Or AEW is finished and gone completely, one or the other.
And legally, I don't know if there are certain things that they can't talk about.
Yes. WrestleMess with a $9.99. Love Vicaire, but her title run feels like Punk's run that got cut short by Legacy's backstage attack. Everyone knows the talent is there, but the reign itself is just not hitting the way that it should. That's a very good way to look at it. I still feel that way. I don't think it's getting started right. Spencer Morgan with 35 months. It would be nice if you started a cat channel, JD. I'd love to see how you take care of them. Spencer, I got a lot of other things I need to work on as far as content. Listen, I think Freddie would get more subscribers than I would if I put him on camera. I really do. WrestleMess with the $199. How good would Dolph sold Gunther's chop? Probably the best ever. Honestly.
Look at the way he sold the Goldberg spear at SummerSlam.
$4.99. Boss Mo Jackson. Ziggler's a cross between Shawn Michaels and Mr. Perfect. I'm still a huge fan. I feel he should have won more in WWE. He's underrated and underappreciated. He is definitely underappreciated, but yes, I agree. He's a cross between Shawn Michaels and Mr. Perfect. That's why I said he reminds me a lot of Perfect earlier. DJ 55 with a $9.99. Fellas, I told Solo already. My 10-year-old son and I will be at War Games. I got my yellow TNT shirt, TNT signs. He will be in a Bucks jersey, entrance ramp, also meeting La Primera and Chelsea. OTS for life. I love it. Representing Tuesday Night Titans at Survivor Series, man. Thank you very much, DJ. WrestleMess with a 199. Should have been Gunther versus Javon, Ziggler, Penta, or Mello. As far as what? In the tournament?
We could get Gunther and Mello.
We could. I think that'd be great.
We should.
Leopoldo, $5 super chat. Credit to MK Pandy in the chat. This is too good not to be super chatted. He said Tonga Loa's gonna short package himself and get eliminated out of the Rumble. Ha. I don't know what that man's gonna end up doing, man. He's always got something going on. He's always a clip of something he's doing or not doing in the ring. Tonga Loa. Caden with a 199. Maybe Mercedes Hogan should take notes from Becky. Yeah, I think the Becky Hogan narrative has kind of died after what she did to Maxine. So, she's done great with that title. I don't want to hear anything else. Baltimore Jackson with a 999. The veteran female talent looks weak most weeks. Charlotte is botchy. Jax is awkward. And others have weak, non-impactful offense. Nikki Bella looks and feels out of place. She tries too hard. She's flat and unbelievable. Well, Jesus Christ, Baltimore Jackson. Tell me how you really feel, bro. I wouldn't go that far. Seriously. Charlotte is botchy? I wouldn't say that. I do think Nikki Bella looks out of place. I will agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, she's totally out of place.
Yeah. Point Dexter, 1, 2, 3, 4 with the 10. If the quarterfinals for the John Cena tournament is happening next week, then the only way the finals make it on Survivor Series will have to be a fatal four-way, or they are doing the final on Raw. Well, we have Friday, we have Monday, and then we have Friday again, and then we have Survivor Series on that Saturday. So we have time to do it. It's plenty of time. Christopher Smith with a 10. I'm breaking up with my toxic relationship with WWE after Saturday night's main event. I don't enjoy watching WWE anymore. I'm going to the final DPW show Friday, December 12th. Yeah, I mean, they were a big influence down there in North Carolina.
Yeah.
They're
going on hiatus.
Yeah, they're going on hiatus. We don't know when they'll be back. I think they'll be back. I don't know what's going on there. I don't want to speculate or anything, but, you know, if they got to take a break, they got to take a break. WrestleMess with a 199. Gunther vs. Evans was missing that one major highlight. Yeah, you know, I said the same thing, but Jason makes a good point. Like, you know, it was a first-round match. You know, you don't want to give all your eggs away in one basket. There you go. It was fine for what it was. I do think that we could have gotten at least one bigger near fall. The crowd was really into it. At one point, you saw like the first four rows all standing up. It's like everybody was kind of invested at that point. It's like, keep it going, man. But we didn't get it. Leopoldo the 5. Gunther's shop was harder than Rick James when he asked Charlie Murphy, what did the 5 fingers say to the face? Slap. Ha 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 ha. Cold-blooded. That man's shop is ridiculous. Jericho with a $20 super chat. From Vince's brand warfare to Triple H's War Games, I'm officially over the themes for Survivor Series. At the least, do one War Games for the men or women and do traditional elimination matches / title matches on the rest of the card. I talked about this last night. I do feel like at some point someone's going to realize that Triple H has done the same thing with War Games that Vince did with Hell in a Cell. It's already there, in my opinion. Every November, it's War Games. Like, bro, we don't need it every year. We don't. Najee with a $7.99 from Australia. What if Jimmy Uso gets taken out for Jacob Fatu to be inserted and he has business with McIntyre? I wouldn't do that to Jimmy. Jimmy's going to be out eventually because he's going to go on hiatus for Naomi. Like, why would you take him out now?
Also, I think the belief is that Jacob, he may be ready to come back in December. I just don't know that he'll be medically cleared and able to come back in time for Survivor Series. It wouldn't make sense because you got Drew on the other side. And imagine getting Jacob and Brock, right, in a War Games match together. That could be fun.
Yeah.
I don't see him coming back in time for that show.
WrestleMess with a 199. A big, he says, a 2025. We got Big E, Dolph Ziggler, AJ Lee pick. Would have been cool to see in 2025. Yeah. I seen someone mention that on social media yesterday. It might have been, Big E himself. I'm not sure. Leopoldo with a 2. Death Riders has to end with Marina kicking Mox's ass. Yeah. Listen, she's benefited the most out of anybody in that group, honestly. Josh from Connecticut, $4.99. Thank you for a great show tonight, boys. It wasn't smelly like Matt Coon's armpits. Ooh. Tell us how you really feel, Josh. Mr. Premium with a $9.99. Being that he was just honored in El Paso after the 20-year anniversary of his passing. And I lost the 20 years of his passing. Where were you guys when Eddie Guerrero passed away? Not trying to be a downer, just curious. Stay well. I don't even remember where I was. Do you remember where you were?
I'm trying to remember. I remember where I was when I got the Benoit news. I don't think I remember where I was when I heard that Eddie passed away.
That's a good question. I have to think about that, bro. I don't remember.
Yeah, offhand, I don't remember. But I remember I was at work when I read about what happened, when they found Benoit and his family.
Yeah.
I was just getting ready to leave and go home because, I was going to make sure I got home in time for Raw. It was a 3-hour show that night. And I'm just sitting there stunned beyond belief. And my first thought when they said they found them all in the home, oh shit, I wonder if it was carbon monoxide poisoning. It's the first thing I thought.
Broly with a $4.99. Check out the NXT women's matches from tonight. They were great. JC and Tatum, very underrated workers. I pray for them if they get sent to Road Dogg. Yeah, I mean, I'll see the highlights. I'm not going to watch the whole show, but a lot of people are high on JC and Tatum. Steven with the 24 months. Prayers up for Rebel after her health update on Instagram, wishing her the absolute best. Yes, that's a sad situation. Tony Khan, I know it was reported today that he sent a nice, beautiful basket to her and a get well card and get well wishes. So that was very nice of him to do. Prayers for Rebel. Definitely. B Needler with a $1.99. What is happening with Julia? Are they wasting her? I do think that she will be back, and I think they're going to repackage her in some way to hopefully get her over in front of this audience. Is what I hope. D Bastardo with a 5. Solid Monster said it was okay. Santana didn't win in New York. He actually trusts these people to do the right thing. JD, have you ever known Solo to do drugs? No, he doesn't.
Are you referring to a different Solo? Because I could have sworn I talked about what a dog shit finish that was.
Man. Don't get him started, Bastardo, man. You're poking the wrong bear here.
Yeah. I think I may not be the one on the drugs here in this situation.
Emoji Man with a 2. What was the worst faction, the Union or the MFTs?
MFTs.
Okay, well, that was a quick answer there.
The Union had actual stars.
MFTs, not good, bro.
Union had Ken Shamrock and Big Show and Mankind. And Test.
Blue Jay with a 199. El Paso made today Eddie Guerrero Day. Rest in peace, Eddie Guerrero. I didn't know that. Good on them. And Emoji Matt with a 20. Last one here. I'm disgusted with the way old people are depicted on TV. We are not all vibrant, fun-loving sex maniacs. Many of us are bitter, resentful individuals who remember the good old days when entertainment was bland and inoffensive. I don't know what you're talking about there. Why are we talking about being disgusted with the way old people are depicted on TV? What happened? Am I missing something? Do you know something I don't know?
Old people are generally regarded as vibrant, fun-loving sex maniacs.
I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on.
Is Vince sending a super chat in to TNT?
I guess so. Anyway, guys, that's all we got. Thank you for a great show. We covered a lot. We got more coming up this week. We got Dynamite tomorrow, 3 hours. SmackDown, Full Gear. Still a loaded week. And we will both be doing our thing on our channels. Again, thank you for a great show. Thank you for the thumbs up and the super chats. We had upwards of 2,600 people in here. Last week we did 36,000 views, so TNT still rocking and rolling. And I'm going to leave it up to this guy to sound us off for a great episode 121.
Yeah, I just want to say, rest in peace to Bob Caudle. Legendary NWA announcer, passed away this week, 95 years old. And also George Tahinos, who was a very well-known photographer, especially when it came to WWE, WCW, ECW. There were a lot of people who were very friendly with him. He also passed away very unexpectedly over the past week. So very sad to hear that, but just wanted to give them both a mention here at the end of the show.
There you go. Thank you guys very much for a great show. We'll be back next week, episode 122, Tuesday nights. TNT. We'll see you there. Make sure you guys follow us on social media at JD from NY206, at Salamonster on X. You guys know where to find Jason on YouTube. Please go subscribe over there. Link is down in the description. You know where to find me. I'll be live with Jesse tomorrow night for Dynamite. Jason will be live as well on his end. And we will see you next week for Tuesday Night Titans, man. Have a great night.